Two panelists also we are waiting for. All the participants that at the end of the webinar we will be sharing the link for feedback in the question answers chat box, which you will have to fill up. And once you fill up the feedback form, you will get the certificate in your email. Uh, if any, if you will not, if you don't get any certificate today, then you will have to wait at least one day, so that we will try to see the problems with that. But yes, within 2-3 days, everyone will get the certificate in their email. But you have to submit the feedback form at the end of the webinar. Uh, Then I would like to introduce our those who are not aware about the National Institute for Public Health Training and Research. I would like to give some introduction about that. National Institute of Public Health Training and Research Center Research is previously known as Family Welfare Training and Research Center, which was established in 1957, and this is the one of the oldest training center in India, where we are running different courses like diploma health promotion education, postgraduate diploma in community health care, masters in public health, postgraduate diploma in hospital management, sanitary health inspector, first responder, general duty assistant, home health aide, and diabetes educator are the courses which we are running in this institute. So this institute is situated in Mumbai, and we have a campus at Panvel also. So okay, uh, within next 5 minutes we will be starting. So far, 53 participant has already joined. We have got registration from all over the India. As you are aware that Social Work Day is celebrated worldwide. And in India also, every institute is celebrating it. So we are just waiting the participant to join. For within next 2-3 minutes, we'll be starting. Swagatam, Suswagatam, Suswagatam. Sir, with your kind permission, we will start the webinar uh, as it is 2:20 now. Uh, it is my pleasure that to welcome all the social work professionals for this national webinar which we have organized on behalf of National Institute.
Unmute yourself.
Hello, am I audible? Yeah. So I would like to
You are
welcome
not
all of.
audible, please. And ensure that you are.
Hello,
We can
hello.
hear you, sir. Dr. Deepak, we can hear you.
Ah, no, I'm Sanjay Bonge, social worker from the institute, and this is the account of a director's account, official account of the institute. So I have logged in from that. So I'm Sanjay Bonge, social worker with this institute, and we are very pleased to invite you all or welcome you all for this. National Institute is one of the national central training institute under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. As you are aware that World Social Work Day is celebrated all over the world, and we are also celebrating it. It is a salute to the work of a social worker who are devotedly working for the betterment of the society. This year we are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav, 75 years of the independence. In these 75 years, all the social workers have contributed for the development of the society. They have built the community. But now the challenges are different. This time we last 2 years we have faced pandemic. Now the war is going on. The community there is a climate change thing is happening. So there are so many things happening in around us. New communities are built because of new society is coming up because of the advancement in technologies. Previously we were having a real life communities, but now we have a virtual world parallel to the real world where internet has influenced us. Facebooks and other social media also are having great impact on us. The corporate world has also developed. The industrial workers are also having many problems, and all these things with all these people they need some kind of a social work support, a professional social work support, and we are providing that. So in this changing world, when we are talking about building a new eco-social world, there is a need to understand what role exactly a social worker can play, and that is the purpose of this webinar. I would like to invite our honorable director, sir, Dr. Sunil Gite, sir, for uh, this inaugural. Before that, I would like to share some introduction about him, please. So, Dr. Sunil Gite, sir, is the director of National Institute of Public Health Training and Research, the host institute. He has done his master's in doctors in medicine, that is community medicine, and he has completed diploma in health administration. Dr. Gite sir is working in the field of public health since last 20 years, and he has served RLTR Raipur NUBDC as a joint director. He is having a keen interest in the in leprosy, tuberculosis, and vector-borne diseases. Also, he is having expertise in GIS mapping of the health issues, and he is working on that a lot. He has published more than 50 research publications and in the international and national journal. In last 6 months, he is heading this national institute and guiding us for this. I would like to invite Dr. Gite sir for his speech. Please, sir. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Pardon. Uh, some technical error is there. Uh, huh? हॅलो सर आवाज येत नाही आहे तुमचा हॅलो
Rajaram,
हॅलो हा सर आवाज येतोय आता
Rajaram, Rajaram. त्याचं काय आहे बरोबर आहे.
सर आवाज येतोय आता प्लीज
Sanjay, whether I am audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Uh, Good afternoon and welcome to this World Social Worker Day. World Social Worker Day. The theme of this year is the co-building of new eco-social world, leaving no one behind. It's a very comprehensive theme. I welcome all the dignitaries to this webinar, Professor Sanjay Bhatt from the Delhi School of Social Work, Dr. Nilanji Sardesh Pandey, Public Health Researcher, Sri Sachin Golwarkar, CEO of United Way Delhi, Dr. Durgesh Valvi, Assistant Professor from the Kolhapur, Ma'am Shaila Ban, retired Senior Manager and Counselor for the Robert Boss Industry, Amruta Joshi Ma'am, founder of Maman Spandan at Kolhapur. I welcome all dignitaries and students who are attending this webinar. All these dignitaries are strengthening the community with all their capacity, either by imparting the trainings to the BSWs and MSW students, directly supporting and building the community education, counseling to the vulnerable population, and various research in the field. I am from the bottom of my heart, I congratulate all of them for the same time to all of you who are participating this event today, because all of us have involved in the movement of building our nation. The day recognize the hard work and diligence of social workers. On the day, the Global Organization of Social Workers advocate the social justice, human right, and social development while promoting the best practices. Today, we are here to discuss the theme of this professional social worker. Now, friends, as you are aware that the changing the socio-cultural ecology and the roles and responsibility of social workers are expanded far and wide. Now, in each dimension of the social life where the collective community action is needed, social workers play a very crucial role. They are involved in the community organization, program development, implementation, evaluation. At the same time, they are motivating and counseling the needy persons or needy community members in the country. I am the person from the public health background, working in several years in the field of leprosy. I understand the importance of social work professional very well. We are aware that once upon time, leprosy was one of the big public health problem in the country. Especially, it was quite difficult to address because of its social stigma and discrimination in the community. It is deeply rooted in the community, but a greater worker like I would like to take the name of Baba Amte and other social workers who are working their lifetime in the field of leprosy and to generate the awareness in the community and to remove the stigma from the people's mind. There are many health issues in the public health. To overcome these social work support is very crucial. Now, you know that various new sectors are opening where there is a need of social workers to contribute and connect with the community for taking the country ahead. This panel in this webinar here to give us a new vision and perspective to work in that direction. It also highlights the opportunity for the social profession to engage all the social workers networking and their communities. They are working within to make the contribution to the values and the principles which enable all the peoples to have dignity, respective through the shared future. I wish that this discourse will enlighten all of us about the new opportunity towards the development of our nation. And I wish all the best for this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your word of wisdom. Inaugurating this webinar. Now, I would like to invite Shaila Band Madam. Mrs. Shaila Band. She is a professional social worker and retired senior manager from Robert Bosch Chassis System Private Limited, India. She has served as a counselor for several years, and then she was working with Robert Bosch as a senior manager human resource. She has an extensive experience of psychiatric counseling. The purpose for uh, asking, Madam for this presentation is that industrial progress gone up very high. Every corner of the world, there are industries, there are workers, and the workers are having their problems at workplace as well as home. And she is a person who knows them very well. A social worker can play an important role for the betterment of the workers at the workplace as well as at the for their domestic things. So, Vanda madam, for presentation. Ma'am, shall I share your presentation?
Not now. I'll just have 2 minutes you give me for beginning, and then I'll let you know.
Sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to um, thank National Institute of Public Health, Training and Research for inviting me and for giving me this opportunity to address you all, to be amongst you all. I should say not address, because nothing great I would be doing. I'll be sharing my experiences, but to be amongst you even after my retirement. So thank you very much. Good afternoon, dignitaries. Director of National Institute of Dr. Sunil Gite, Director of National Institute of Public Health Training and Research, Mumbai. Professor Dr. Sanjay Bhatt, DSSW, University of Delhi. Dr. Durgesh Walvi, Dr. Nilangi Sardesh Pandey, Mr. Sachin Golwalkar, Ms. Amruta Joshi. Also, I would like to give special thanks to Mr. Sanjay Bonge, who contacted me for this webinar, and also to be the part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and World Social Work Day. Of course, I have prepared some slides, but then, what I feel is we will run through the slides later. I would like to share the experiences of social work in industry, and that too in an MNC, where how it is recognized and what all contribution a social worker can do to build up the organization as well as the welfare of the employee. So to start with, I will tell you that after my MPhil in psychiatric social work from NIMHANS, I was doing my dissertation or research work in Bangalore Bosch, that time called as MICO. And a lot of students are now participating in this webinar. I would like to inform the students that, your internship as well as your theses, wherever you do, don't take it as a part of curriculum. It can build your career also, like how it did mine. I just was doing sincerely my dissertation in MICO Bosch that time. I mean, MICO Bangalore. Now it is known as Bosch Bangalore. And before my results were out, I was in that organization. because they were looking for social counselor as an experimental basis. This is somewhere in 1980s. To be more specific, 1987, when they wanted to experiment industrial social work in the industry, apart from the statutory requirement, that is as a personal manager or a welfare officer. This they wanted to introduce to show as one of the welfare measures, to show to the employees that they take care of them. And I would like to tell you that, of course, it's a challenging profession, because here you're not known, whereas with personal manager or a welfare officer, it is an accepted profession in an industry. Social counselor is a non-accepted profession, because you are though you are appointed from the management, but you have to be neutral and listening between the management and the workmen. So I worked in a manufacturing industry, but of course there are various other sectors where the same situation may vary, but the counselor is accepted or non-accepted, depends on how they perform. So what I tell the students here is that it's a roller coaster ride, and we need to take baby steps. Like, you have to introduce yourself, wait for it. You have to have patience. You have to drive your activities. You have to have innovative ideas. And acceptance will not come from day one, because the one side, the management expects you to work for them. On the other side, the union or the workman thinks that you're the spy giving all information about them to the management. So how to balance this profession, to gain the confidence of the workmen, to gain the confidence of the union, it's a challenging. And slowly you have to build rapport with them, and then they themselves, that the union leaders, like I will tell you, it took for me at least 4 to 5 months to get the confidence of the union leaders. And once the confidence is gained, they on their own come to take help or seek help or suggest that we need to do that. And especially as an industrial counselor, mostly it's a female dominated profession, because the organization, what happens is the lady is accepted by the workmen, even if she goes to their houses. They are welcomed, and she can enter till the kitchen. That is one thing. So what happens is, I'll tell you, one of my colleague, welfare officer, he had gone to a employee's house, and later that employee created havoc in the industry. He made a lot of allegations on him, and finally that officer had to put down his papers. Whereas I could walk into the house, talk to the family members, and get their confidence. So this is that's why mostly the organizations take a female as a counselor. I don't know why this, but then it is so. It is doing in India. So we had around 3,000 employees. Then I was moved to Econ after in 87. I did for 1 year this course, and then I'm in this role. And then I moved to Nagpur as a lecturer. And again, after 10 years, I came back to Bosch at Nasik, sorry. And then there in Nasik, we had 3,000 workmen, 3,000 employees, and mostly at the middle age group and the young people who mostly middle age group. So they had problems of addiction, chronic absenteeism. The organization wanted to put them under serious actions. Charge sheets were issued. So what's the role of counselor there? So what we did is we took a sample size of 100 employees who were chronic absent. Chronic means who are not coming to work for more than 3 days, more than 10 days. And I visited in each and every employee's house. So there I got information that it is not always the workman has got some attitude issues, or character issue or in this thing or behavioral issues, but it's the fear to meet the targets. Sometimes, like one of the employee, his wife literally used to bring him near till the workplace, and then as soon as she used to turn her back, this guy used to disappear. He never entered the house, entered the industry. So what happened is, then I realized that let's see how we can do it. So I told his wife, okay, you bring him till the gate, and from gate I escorted him to the department. And once in the department, he was one of the best fitters, and the manager wanted him badly. So once he's inside the factory, he works like anything. So this was the situation. Like he had that fear of coming inside to the company. So many times it is the psychological aspect, the which need to be taken care of. The psychological, not all employees want to go for addiction. Not all employees want to be away from work. It is the psychological part, the stress which they are undergoing, that need to be looked into. And apart from that, I would like to tell that not only counseling is there in the organization, there are various things which in an industry, the counselor or the social worker can do if she wants to take up new challenges. Like I started this with counseling, but I ended in as a core HR person, as senior manager HR, who was looking into recruitment, because in recruitment also we have to look into the candidate's psychological and behavioral aspect, and to identify whether the candidate is suitable for this position, this profession. So all that, plus I was looking into the development, career development of the management staff. So there is lot of avenues open for you once you are inside the industry. So what I suggest to the students, like MSW with personal management, they definitely look into the industry. They look for a profession in industry. But the other fields, other specialization, like medical and psychiatry, family and child welfare, community development, they never take a step to go inside the factory and take a role there. I don't know why, because they feel that is not their purview. It is not so. You are accepted much more in an organization, in an MNC. Of course, it is slowly coming up. The other sectors also is taking up social counselors. Now, IT sector is calling online counseling. So all this is happening, but we need to give our chance. We need to step inside the organization, because I have to propagate that industrial social work is one of the challenging field where people are not taking the benefit of it. People are not um, uh, aiming for that. You know, they are only sticking to hospital and public health areas, or family and child welfare area, or community development area. Why not? Because even organization like MNC organizations, they are into corporate social responsibility in very big way. So there also the social worker can play a major role. So, of course, this is my experience. Of course, I can give you a lot of examples, but time is short for us. So let me run through the slides, and you can ask questions later on. Mr. Sanjay? Hello? You can go to the directly to the slide. Yeah, I just took out some of the basic things of industrial social work, like how it got evolved. Somewhere in 60s, it got evolved in Europe, and then in 80s in India. Some of the major industries like Tata, Bosch, ITC, these people started this recruiting the social counselor, because they wanted a totally neutral person for their. So next slide. So what is the qualities of industrial social worker? The knowledge and personality traits essential in a social worker in an industry are maturity. They need to be warm and genuine, genuinely show interest in people's adjustability, good communication skills. I would like to tell you, I'm non-Maharashtrian, but when I went into Nasik MNC, I learned Marathi, and I used to tell employees that I will murder Marathi, but I'll speak to you in Marathi. And I started taking the employee development program in Marathi. So that is another way of acceptance which you gain from the employees. Should be a good patient listener. Resourcefulness, you have to give them various resources, like the employees come and ask how they can develop the career of the children. You have to give lot of inputs to the career counseling. You can suggest them various, of course they have to take all the solution should come from them. You cannot impose solution on them. You have to only make them understand and get the solution on their own. Sound effective intervention skills, knowledge of industrial psychology, knowledge of labor laws. You need to know the labor laws. You cannot just go on. You have to coordinate with the personal manager, with the welfare officer, and what the organization is looking for. See, any organization, any industry is not working for charity. They want business. You have to be part of the business. At the same time, you have to be a licensing officer between the management and the workmen or the employees. And you need to know the business, you need to know the figures, you need to know the turnovers. Many social workers, they feel that that's not part of their area and they neglect it. No, today you need to talk business. You know to know the turnover of the organization. You need to know what new projects coming up, how our employees need to be developed. Like in Nasik, there were a lot of new projects coming up. We had to send the employees to Germany, to Turkey, to other countries where they need to get skill developed. There we need to make them adjust how cultural shock will be there for them. So we had to conduct programs, intercultural training program for them, so that they can know what is the requirement in a country, where how the employee need to behave, how need to adjust, what is the language, what is the currency. All this is taught to them before they left for these countries. Expert in corporate community interaction. Like we had a lot of interaction with the colleges, because we needed a lot of mechanical and production engineers. So we had to hire them. So what we did it backstage at Bosch. This is one program we conducted, and we got good response. Like colleges, we had developed a Bosch corner, where we used to provide them with a lot of machine maintenance activities, or the library books we had provided, lot of products we had provided for the study materials. Expert in industrial counseling, as I already told you. Next slide, please. So the role involves help in leveraging core capacities of the employees, help create culture for greater synergy in organizational learning and development, help employees increase their self-awareness so as to make them more effective as an individual. Managers also, like the frontline managers, especially, they are sandwiched. They are sandwiched one side by the management, for them, the targets is more important. Whereas the other side, the direct employees, whom they have to interact left and right, and also they have to interact with the union. So this frontline managers are sandwiched bed. So these frontline managers need to be trained in the psychological aspect. So what we suggested is each one of them should take a short course in psychological aspect, so that they know how the human behavior is and what needs to be done. Some growth and development workshops can be conducted in emotional intelligence, transactional analysis, as I told you, that if a person gets transferred, or if the person is sent to a different department, he needs to be given time to understand what is his requirement. That, and also later various other activities can be conducted. Counselor is a change agent. It is, as I told you, the counselor should know the business. They are there to support the business as well as the thing. So they are the change agent. They can change the organization with their skills and support. handling crisis management, absenteeism, etc. Next slide, please. So what the benefit out of this? So like as I already told you, that many of the organizations, they try to hire social counselor just as a welfare measure. They want to show that they have a counselor, but it's not like that. It is going, gives a lot of benefit to the organization, decreases costs related to turnover, burnouts, absenteeism, and accident-related disability, improvement in employee performance, and therefore increase in productivity. A counselor can play role of business partner to manage behavioral problems brought by organizational changes. The counselor service shall bring work-life balance. So this work-life balance is much more needed in the IT sector, where they don't have a union. They have, and their targets are very, they have to reach the targets in a high order. They have a lot of stressful, which whom to discuss with. So the need of counselor is very much there. Similarly, work-life balance now in manufacturing sector also is increasing, because the targets, because there is also business increasing. They have employed a lot of female employees. So the female employees have various other issues, because they have to strive with family as well the work balance. So work-life balance programs is a must, where the counselor can play a major role. I'll just tell you before I wind up, I'll just tell you that this all was possible when we were working in an organization, physically working. But then later on, with this 2 years of COVID, where all we were inside the house, we could not go to the organization. Of course, in the manufacturing industries, we did go during, apart from lockdown, other time we were there in the industry, but many of them were at home. There was a lot of other crises coming up. And what happened is, many of our employees had family issues. There were a lot of conflicts between the family members, and also there was no interaction. So what programs we started doing is, every quarterly we started giving them the manufacture inputs, the business sharing, as well as so counselors started, like how we have PM's Man Ki Baat. Similarly, we started chai time, and we started talk on a cup of tea. So chai time, it was only for the female employees, where we used to do a lot of interaction, because we used to have every regularly meetings with female employees, but that was cut off. So in this chai time, we could talk, we could laugh, we could make a lot of engagement. And then when during the chai ki cup discussion over a cup of tea, where it was more a professional, very tailor-made program, where they had to come up with newcomers whom we had taken, and suddenly the lockdown started. So the newcomers came up with a lot of suggestions. We used to take inputs from them. We used to build up how to build them, how to retain them, was one of the main target thing. So we could do that through these virtual interactions. So, and as again, I tell of course, because I asked Mr. Sanjay Bonge, who are the participants? They said it is participants are from all over the India, all professional bodies, but students also. So again, this thing is, other professional bodies, they know what is it, but the students who are going to make the career, and I've always welcomed them to make the career in an industry. Don't stick to only social counseling. Grow yourself. Again, I say, you can, if you prove you can grow, and the organization will help you to grow. When I showed my potential, the organization also developed me into management development program. They sent me to Germany, they sent me to China to develop myself. So these things happen if you are willing to show your capabilities and willing to work. Don't stick to only timeline. There are many times you have to spend more time. You have to go to the family. You have to spend time. If the family is available in the evening, you have to go to them. So don't stick to time. And also, again, I repeat, you concentrate seriously on your internship can build you an industrial career. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you for giving this opportunity to address. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think more time. I'm sorry for that.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And I would like to just recollect a recent scene from a Rocket Boys in that Vikram Sarabhai in those days to deal with the industrial worker, he was taught about social worker, trained social worker, a professional social worker to engage, and it was shown in that particular web series that he
Right.
appointed one to introduce the new technologies in the weaving industry and all that. So it is very fruitful, and yes, balancing between business and human relation is a quite difficult job, and one has to accept it. Thank you very much, ma'am. Now we will turn to the next speaker of this webinar. We have a renowned professor from Delhi School of Social Work, and I would like to introduce our next speaker, Sri Dr. Sanjay Bhatt sir, who has agreed to do the talk with us on this particular occasion. And I just want to have given a small intro about him. So Dr. Sanjay Bhatt is a renowned professor at the Delhi School of Social Work, Delhi University. He is having a experience more than 35 years, and he is engaged in social work education, research, mentoring of NGOs and individuals. More than 80 presentations, research papers he is published. He has 3 books in his name, and his area of interest is development studies, social legislation, human resource management, and he has participated in many seminars and all that. He's always guiding our All India Association of Medical Social Work Professionals also. And here he is. Today he is having almost 3 webinars in a queue, and still he managed to take out the time for this webinar. I welcome sir for the speech. Please take over.
To panelists and dear participants. It's a really privilege to speak on this platform. Today is the Social Work Day, World Social Work Day, and the World Social Work Day is also 40-year-old. But we have started celebrating it very recently, not more than a decade back. The simple reason is this, that social work in India has grown in last 2 decades in a big way. If I quote a report of Government of India, Ministry of Education, All India Survey on Higher Education, the 10th report has been just released. It is very satisfying to read that every year we are enrolling 66,000 students in undergraduate program in social work and almost 52 or 54,000 students in master's program. Roughly 110,000 students are being enrolled in social work program across the country through 526 social work educational institution, and 181 universities with many colleges. The number is eye-opening. And if I give you a data of 1997, the Government of India report has reported only 69 to 70 colleges, social work educational institution, producing roughly 3,000 to 3,500 students annually. If I quote only All India Survey on Higher Education, the enrollment has increased many times. And in last 2 decades, the demand for social work has increased tremendously because there are many areas which requires the professional social workers. You know that after the Millennium Development Goal, we have SDG, and even before Millennium Development Goal, our priority areas was the social development. And social development in itself contains many things. When I say many things, major area, major investment area are there. Education, health. These are the 2 big arms. There is no confusion and no doubt. Then come to the employment, livelihood, social security, social welfare, and the entire effort is to improve the quality of life. So the country has a more and more social investment. And in social work itself, we have moved from the social functioning or therapeutic approach to developmental social work approach. If you look at the definition of social work, which has been so fastly changing, and the last definition, which we have adopted, globally, it very clearly brings out social development at the forefront when it says that the social work is an academic discipline and a practice-based profession that promotes social change and development, social cohesion, the empowerment and liberation of people. So this reminds me that when we talk of the social development, its important pillar is the intergroup cohesion, social cohesion. It talks of the equality, more specifically gender equality. It talks of the civil rights, if not all human rights, but it do talk of the 2nd generation and 3rd generation human right. And above all, it talks of the trust. So take any field, child and women services, non-profit organization, government organization, disadvantaged group, marginalized section of the society, vulnerable section, hospital, community health program, whatever, X number of programs, all are meant towards the development. Then I think that entire social work and a social worker or a professional social worker has to work for the development and its roles in the development, social development of a country, social development of a society cannot be undermined. In fact, they are synonym. Like health and social work, they are synonym. They are synonym to each other. Now, when we talk of the World Social Work Day, what we are trying to say? Social Work Day is to remember the values, the method, the philosophy, the principle of social work. Social Work Day main objective is to strengthen existing or establish new contacts, cooperation, connections, partnerships with organizations, between organizations, particularly national or international organizations. The Social Work Day is meant to highlight social work action, policies, and achievement. Now, it is also to disseminate the knowledge, activities, goals, programs, campaigns. So Social Work Day, which has in fact came in bigger light right from 2012 to onward. When I say 2012 onwards, I'm specifically focusing on where the International Federation of Social Workers and International Association of Schools of Social Work, they have come out a global agenda on social work. And this global agenda on social work was, in another sense, was the global agenda of social development, which came out the 4 themes. Every year, 2 themes has to be taken. So 12 to 14, the theme was promoting social and economic equality. 2015-16, the theme was promoting dignity and birth of people, which is the basic value of social work. 2017-18, we came out with the community and environmental sustainability, promotion of community and environmental sustainability. And another year, we came out the promoting importance of human relationship. Now we are saying co-building a new economic and social world, and UN has come out with its tagline, "No one leaves behind," to us from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So the entire social work fraternity has made its effort to popularize the social work in their own country. And friends, you know, unfortunately, after 80 years of existence, out of which 60 years, I believe, is a very segmental, reserved to the urban community only. Now social work has expanded across the country. In right sense, it is leaving no one behind. As I gave you the data that how social work has grown up. Now this beautiful subject is the only subject in university education system which has different syllabus, which has different pedagogy, which has its own significance or importance, which has social responsibility, which has community reach. a few department, adult education and sometimes psychology do have the community reach program, but not to match with the social work program. And that is why the social work department produces largest number of employment. Yes, I do agree with you that some of the employments are not up to the mark, not qualitatively so pleasurable, and we cannot enjoy. Some of the social workers are getting even less than the minimum wages. These are some challenges. But one thing is sure, that social work as a subject, as an academic discipline, has outnumbered many existing disciplines. I have no quarrel with any other discipline. My respect and regard to all academic disciplines, but what I'm trying to establish, that my discipline, social work, is coming up in superlatives. And whether it is enrollment or whether it is employment, it is not a magical. The society runs with the demand-supply ratio. So probably demand is there in the society. As I told you, that the entire society, entire world is moving towards the developmental goals. Probably that requires the more specialized people to handle the issues. And professional social work has always been victim of its own name, social work. So anybody thinks that he can do social work. Charity workers, philanthropists, anyone who is not doing anything doing social work. That creates some difficult situation, not only in general public, but even in the bureaucratic circles, to get its proper recognition. But my submission is that development means specific goals, whether it is health, whether it is public health, whether it is community health. Development has specific targets, and that specificity requires the specific knowledge, the specific way of doing. And professional social work teaches that how to do that, how to help to bring development into the practice, into the reality. That how is important. And when I talk of the role of social workers in social development, it reminds me that social workers has to look on this how component. How is related to art? How is the matter of art? As why is the matter of science? The question of why is the question of logic. Question of reasoning. The question of how is the question of art, skills, competencies, the way of doing. So I think that either an individual social worker or a school of social work or an institution like yours, which have many short-term and long-term programs, including MPH, training of trainers, they are bound to teach that how, which is most important in realizing the developmental goals. The more and more skills, the more and more competencies. My earlier speaker was speaking about the industrial social work or social workers in industry. Fortunately, I have been also a student of industrial social work. And a new branch of social work has emerged in social work profession, the occupational social work. Some of the universities in South Africa, even in Canada and America, providing 2 years degree in occupational social work, talking of occupational health, safety, and so on. The ILO has come up with a new agenda we call decent work. The decent work agenda. And COVID has taken us to a newer situation. Some people call it new normal, which I called it new abnormal. Because we were combating with a new situation which was abnormal to us. Work from home. What we have learned in COVID during COVID pandemic may be disastrous to time to come into the industrial workers and their health. First of all, it is going to affect the change in nature of work. So workers and workplaces, all three are going to revolutionize. The coming 2 decades are the decades of skills. More and more specific skills are required. Be a carpenter or be a mason. Therefore, in social workers, whose core concern is human relations, they are bound to be more skill oriented. I understand the biggest challenge for schools of social work is to deal with this situation. Because another 2 or 3 decades will be guided by the technology. Health and education, these are the 2 areas which has largely been influenced by the technology. Health has been taken the, technology has taken over the health sector long back. But education is new one. And you see the sudden uprise of number of enterprising industry, Byju's to Akash Byju's, to upgrade, to great learning. Many suddenly, because of the engagement of technology with the education. And the COVID pandemic has provided the more space in the field of education for the technology. Now, social worker can't remain aloof with this. They have to come out with newer ways to use the technology in delivery of the social service, especially the public health and community health departments. Employment, livelihood. That doesn't mean that technology will overrule the social work or human relation component. The more and more technology is required, and therefore social work people has to be alert enough. When we claim we are a profession, we fail on few accounts. I just give you, allow me another 3-4 minutes. I just give you a data. If 100 medical graduates are passed out, 60% of them do private practice, 40% goes in government jobs. If 100 law graduates passed out, 90% go in a private practice, 10% go in employment as a law officer or judiciary or judicial services. If 100 nursing graduates passed out, 70% go into the employment and 30% go into the private practice. The situation for social work is that 100% social work graduate pass out, 95 goes them into the employment. And here I bring the technology as one game changer. That how more and more people can come in private base delivering the services, be it a counseling services, be it a research services, be it a social service, be it a support services, be it a organization, NGOs or whatsoever it may be. That is a challenge. And this challenge will be propelled by the another factor to which largely the development of the social development of country will be affected. That is the demography, the changing demography. Not only in India, the changing demography in the world. And probably the kind of situation we are seeing, the Russian and Ukraine war, and we are at the brink of the Third World War. Probably we will be requiring more demographic changes. India is going to be the youngest nation. What does it mean? It means more and more services in livelihood, in upgrading skills, if not education, upgrading skills, developing competencies, building capacities will be required. You may be requiring more and more entertainment also, but that too of quality. So quality is going to be the hallmarks of another 3 decades. By 2050, this scenario will completely change, where technology, demography, and quality will be the masters. So friends, when I say the role of social worker in social development, we have to move from the traditionally set up roles. We have to find out the ways, newer opportunities. We will require to do new innovations. As I said, probably many of us have to search the wage of self-employment. Role as an advocate, role as a counselor, role as a guide, role as a lawyer, role as a helper, role as a, these roles I'm not denying, but these roles may not be required many, many more years. So my perception and my analysis is that we have to prepare ourselves. Institutions have to rebuild themselves, and they have to define their VMG. They have to define their vision, mission, goals. And that vision, mission, goals basically will decide our activities. I'm really grateful to the organizers to give me this opportunity. And I'm really thankful to Sanjay Bhonge, who has approached me, and his director, who permitted to speak me, and Deepak ji to provide me some time to put my view on the World Social Work Day. And last, we should also think in Indian Social Work Day, which we have already started. And this year we will be celebrating the 3rd Indian Social Work Week, 15th August to 21st August. Because on the 15th August, the first independent school of social work was born. So we decided that we will be celebrating the whole week, 15th August to 21st August, and 21st August as the Indian Social Work Day or National Social Work Day. I invite you to think the newer ways and means to organize the Indian Social Work Day and to give a new way to the social work community, which works in public health, which works in education, which works in many, many areas. At least 18 ministries the social workers are working. So with these remarks, I'm really thankful, and I'm thankful to the participant and audience who have been very silently gave me time to speak out. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, sir. On behalf of our honorable director and our institute, we are very grateful, and we have the thought which you have presented that really provoking us for celebrating a new Indian national. I think आजादी का महोत्सव अमृत महोत्सव में ये एक बात हो जाएगी कि national social work day we will be celebrating. And yes, absolutely, in so many there are so many sectors, and we need to develop our new vision and mission, and all these things for better building of a better society. Thank you very much, sir. Now I would like to invite uh, Honorable Sri Sachin Govalkar ji, who is a corporate, who is a chief executive officer at United Way India. Yeah, international NGO. He's at New Delhi. He's a TISS graduate and a development professional with a 24 years of experience, and which includes 8 years of senior management position. He was with the United Way India Delhi, and they are managing the corporate. And he will be speaking about corporate social responsibility sector. Friends, when we are implementing any development program, we need funds. But we have a human manpower, but we don't have funds. Sometimes there are funds, there is no human resource available. So to match the things and for a sustainable development, we have to come together. And how we can work a professional social worker.
There seems to be some connectivity issue with Dr. Rao.
That's right.
Am I audible to everyone? Probably I should.
Yes, you are. Please.
Okay, it's very difficult to go after Dr. Sanjay, but he is a stalwart of social work. And so thankfully, my subject is slightly different. So I will be speaking on corporate social.
Sorry, suddenly there was an electric failure, electricity. So I would like to Sachin sir for the presentation, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I was, it was just a flashback as Dr. Bhatt was speaking, and it took me 25 years back on the TIS campus, and I was a part of the job placement cell. And that time there was a fierce discussion around whether corporate should be. I'm getting an echo. Uh, okay, there was a fierce discussion amongst the students and at times between students and the faculties whether we should invite corporates, to for job placements on the campus. And that was then 25 years back. And today, if I were to say, that question will not arise, I would say, or probably there definitely would be different kind of conversations. But in 2003, the corporate social responsibility, which was as a part of the Section 135, the Companies Act, was introduced and ratified. It changed the entire scenario, of fundraising, funding, and social impact investments in the country. As of today, just a snapshot, this is from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs website. We had close to 25,000 crore plus being raised as a part of this nearly 25,000 projects, corporate social responsibility projects in the country. This is as of last year's statistics. And if we were to even dig a little bit deep on that statistic, you will find that it is pretty much skewed in terms of where these funds are being deployed. And there is a specific reason for that. So if you will see nearly 3 to 4 states, whether it is Maharashtra, Gujarat, you have Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh. These about 4 to 5 states are taking up nearly 35 to 40% of the CSR contribution of 25,000 crores plus. So, which means that there are a lot of states which are actually getting, I would say, peanuts. Yeah. One of the reasons why something like that, you could get this kind of a skewed ratio is because in the initial drafts, they had provided that companies should be doing corporate social responsibility within their office premises or around their plants. And therefore, you will find that wherever there were corporate offices, especially for the service sector, or where industrialization was much more, you will see a significant amount of investment going, in those states or those geographies. So even within states, you will find districts. There are many districts who take up a lot significant amount of CSR funding and funds, while there are districts who don't get any. And the other factor on this statistic is that nearly about 40%, 30 to 40% of the funding goes into the two themes of education, which also has educational, vocational training, special education, and the other one is about health. Health also includes sanitation, drinking water, that these areas. So if you club these two areas, it takes up a significant amount of the CSR funding in the country. Another bit of statistical trivia: if you look at 10 topmost, companies who are contributing to CSR, they are contributing more than 25% of the funds. So that is also one significant amount of statistic that you have some of the top contributors like Reliance who are almost contributing 1,000 crores. While there are a lot of small companies also, but you need to understand from the social work perspective that if you have a lot companies which have got a lot of fund for their management, they have created either their foundations to manage them, or they have created their own structures which require social work professionals to manage some of the functions. So that is one big opportunity which the entire social work profession field, it opens up, that you have got significant corporates who have expanded in this particular area and who would be having a continued demand of as economy increases, and as so the CSR it is based on these formulas, that if you have actually a gross turnover of 1,000 crores, or basically net profits of 500, or net turnover of 500, and if your net profits are above 5 crores, then CSR law becomes the rules becomes applicable. And it brings in a significant, it has it's changed the entire fabric of how the entire social impact programs are done in this country. So some things which I would like to state. So I would like to introduce myself a bit more now, as a part of United Way. So United Way is a global organization. It is a 135-year-old organization. And if you will Google in the Forbes list, we are one of the top social impact organizations out of the US. And here we have been established in India for the last 35 years. And there are nearly 7 United Ways in India. We are all networked and federated. We are all independent, not-for-profit societies. We are registered as a society, and we work with more than 250 corporations in the country, top corporations in the country. Now, what has changed because of all of this? One of the significant challenges which I have seen when we go out for recruitment is, and something which Dr. Bhatt did touch upon, is that a lot of people have entered the social work space who are not professional social workers. Yeah. Now, if you will see, there are at least 25 top fellowships which are going on. Yeah, you need to understand what is the entire ecosystem comprising of. So say, for example, there is a very renowned organization called as Kaivalya Foundation, which is an education oriented organization. They are having the Gandhi Fellowship. The Gandhi Fellowship is an immersion fellowship for 2 years, where they have to, be placed in a particular rural setting, working in the education transformation processes in villages. Now, you will see that kind of fellowships into 25 kind of fellowships, which have been started right from, SBI Foundation Fellowship, or there are other fellowships. And you need to, as qualified professional social worker, you need to really be able to differentiate yourselves from what these other people who get into these fellowships, they come with different qualifications. So they might come from a variety of backgrounds, and then they get this. Sorry, I'm getting a echo back. Sorry, I'm getting an echo back.
I think the mic of Dr. Deepak Raut needs to be muted because it's not echo actually. There is someone speaking at that mic, so that is what we are hearing.
Just wait, just
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I was just sharing about the the competitive space which is there, or even in when there are, you will see that the entire ecosystem, the rest of the ecosystem, if you look at remove some of the top foundations and all, the rest of the ecosystem are all small and medium sized corporates who are trying to put in smaller amounts of money and doing their good. Now, many of them do not actually do not have an understanding about the social work sector. They do not hire dedicated professionals because they do not have the kind of administrative kind of fees, yeah, where to manage those kind of smaller amounts. So they actually make do with a lot of their in-house people who might be qualified, might be within the same corporate system, and you will find a lot of them doubling up and managing a CSR kind of a portfolio. So I was just trying to give you the challenges which are there in front of the social work sector in the corporate social responsibility space. There is a lot of demand out there if you actually look at positioning yourselves properly in terms of, because your competition is not going to just be with people who come out of social work professional space. Your competition is going to be with people who are going to come out out of all the spaces like I mentioned, and they might have different kind of skills which may or may not work in a particular settings, but you are definitely competing against a much larger lot. So you need to remember that. The next one, which I want to like to say, is that in the corporate social responsibility space, you have got the Schedule 7. So it has to follow, the corporates have to follow the Schedule 7, which has been given by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. The Schedule 7 is one with, there was one earlier and now it was updated. It gives 10 actually thematic areas in which corporate social responsibility funds can be invested in. And right from the earlier one, in terms of whether it is eradicating hunger and working on preventive health, whether it is managing homes or on gender empowerment programs, working for the elderly, education and vocational training programs. So there is a list which has been given, and the companies have to follow on that. Usually, some bit of, if you are applying to any companies for any jobs or in the entire value system, the value system is pretty large. You can actually look at researching a bit more in terms of where you want to really look at aiming for, whether it is actually in a particular managing a corporate job or a corporate foundation job, or there are organizations like United Way, or there are a lot of international organizations which actually support a whole lot of ecosystem of NGOs. For example, at this point of time, United Way is supporting more than 450 organizations, NGOs across the country on different themes. So you can look at positioning yourselves, whether you want to be in a particular area like that, or you would want to think that for the early years you would want to have a more direct on ground experience and would like to join a grassroots organization and gain certain skills and experience on certain field issues and field working. So it's all about doing your homework, aiming for the right place and working towards it. What I would like to say is, when you're actually trying to make any kind of progression in around the value chain, this entire value chain, you need to remember that you need diversity of skill sets. So don't just think that having a undergrad or a grad degree or a PG degree in social work is an end in itself. You need to aim at continuous learning cycle, and which would mean that you are continuously enrolling in courses. The starting point, I would say, is do a certain certificate course which are offered by Ministry of Corporate Affairs in terms of certain base level certification on corporate social responsibility, for example, which demonstrates on your CV that you have got basic understanding. Today, the compliance, the regulatory environment is very, very critical for every social work student. Yeah. So regulatory environment is very dynamic. And if you are getting into this space, you need to know, to qualify for a corporate social responsibility funds, funding, or even if you're writing as a program person, if you're looking for a writing a proposal, or if you're looking at a communications role, you need to know what are the things which actually are the basic fundamentals given by the regulatory framework as far as the CSR is concerned. That will just enhance your position within the ecosystem. So get certain certifications, understand about the regulatory and compliance environment. And when I talk about regulatory and compliance environment, it will also mean that you know more about society. How is society managed? How is society functioning? Society is a state subject. So there are certain complications when you are understanding society in different states. There are Section 8 companies, which is a not-for-profit, company. How is this and that different? What difference does it make for example, to a corporate. Now, also one another very important fact which I wanted to understand. So, like I said, that you are under a lot of competition as a professional in this space because many corporates do not really they are not exposed to professional social work and the importance of that for certain management or senior management, middle management jobs. So they might, but the other one in terms of the entire, social impact sector, especially for not-for-profit, I don't like to use the word NGO as much because you cannot actually define, according to me, you cannot define your identity by what is not. So NGO यानी हर कोई NGO category में आ जाता है, so which I really don't like. So I like to qualify as a social impact organization. But what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of profit organizations, startups, a whole lot of these small organizations, and many of them are positioning as solving social problems. You need to understand this very carefully, that the entire ecosystem is getting very complicated. There are 100 startups today who are trying to solve problems of drinking water in this country. Yeah. So on one hand, potentially you can look at them, if you have the right skills and experience, as potential startups to join, and gain exposure and experience and contribute to that, and they are doing some fantastic work. Yeah. So that is one area, but that's a completely different thing. They will not function like a social classic NGO model. They are functioning like any for-profit making company. They are social impact, they are backed by a lot of social impact investment companies who are actually trying to make problem solving as their mission and earn profit as well. There is absolutely no harm in doing that as far as the mission is not diluted. Yeah. According to our thing, the societal problems which we all are trying to solve, and we need to work on a collaborative basis as many entities. That is, very essential, that as many players come to say, if there is solid waste as a problem, you need all kinds of players to find that solution to solid waste management issues in this country. The problem is huge. So you can always move around, gain that kind of experience. And one of the points which I would like to tell all the people over here is, one thing which we are not taught enough is the scope of entrepreneurship after being in a social work job is also tremendous. If you, it's not necessarily that you have to look at joining a job and doing a job as only. Okay, so that also need not be an end in itself. Try to, an NGO is also an enterprise, whether it is a social impact company which you are starting to solve a problem, or whether you are actually starting up an NGO to solve a certain problem. I think they are all entrepreneurs in their own rights, and the enterprise economy of social impact in this country has not received enough attention, especially creating entrepreneurs out of social work professionals. And I'm a big advocate of that, because that risk taking ability which you really need is something which we need to definitely further more as our mission. And it's something which I would really like to look at. And the last point which I would like to tell all the social work professionals is, technology is again like something which Dr. Bhatt really said, but I would like to take it a bit further. Technology is not only essential, it is becoming a big disruptor. Disruptor in the sense it will also displace jobs, something which required 10 people to do reports. Now, a lot of that is getting created by artificial intelligence, or there are a lot of smart dashboards which are being created. There are a lot of software which are coming up which will automate a lot of these kind of data management processes and everything. So but you need to be ahead of the entire technology curve, and which will mean a lot of advancements are coming. You at least try to be updated about, being updated on what's new. We are actually also talking about new ways of fundraising via digital means, digital assets. So these are all new things which are coming in the entire thing. And if you are not a millennial, and if you are actually in the mid, years, try to give up that lethargy, because technology will really ground you in the next 5 to 10 years. So if you are if you have that inertia about looking at technology, if you have to go on the upward curve in terms of the social work management level responsibilities, or any of the higher functions, then you will have to really learn to master a lot of these functions as you go along. So with that, anyway, I would like to thank NIPHPR, and especially Dr. Sunil Gile and the entire team, Sanjay Bhoge, and it's been wonderful. Thank you very much for inviting. I hope my perspective, I've tried to give a slightly different perspective and different points on the matter. I don't know whether it has been very useful to all of you, but those were my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sachin ji, for your word of wisdom. Definitely, whatever you have shared, it is really useful, because the corporate social responsibility and how the thing has to be done, what one has to look like entrepreneurship. You have suggested that it has to be merged. Now, every time we think about social work is a profession where you are supposed to work with empathy, and आपको ऐसा नहीं होता. There also you have to think about the professionally, and with that entrepreneur mind, because I have seen an NGO who has started their work, and they started with the work. They said that if we will demand money every time from the people, it will not sustain. So first they built their resources, which were earning money for their development projects. So that entrepreneurship they had, and that is the reason that NGO grown up on a wide and large scale. In Sangli district, I can name that Yerala Project Society. They have a very good infrastructure they have developed. So that is the thing, whenever we are working in the social sector, we should have this kind of things. The support, the financial support, the technical support, and the new technology, what you have mentioned. Absolutely, it is very essential, because data management, and there are so many things. Yesterday, I was watching on a meeting that every time we think about one simple sector like social work, means what is psychology, psychiatry, or medical social work, or something like that. But there are n number of sectors, as you have pointed out, that sir has pointed out, there are n number of sectors. Even our rural setup is also very essential. And here we are, Dr. Durgesh Valvi, who is from Nandurbar district of Maharashtra, and he is working as associate professor at Cyber in Kolhapur. And he is having very vast experience about rural development. He is a assistant professor there. I would like to invite, without wasting time, Mr. Darby for his presentation.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Raut, sir. Thank you for
I'm
inviting
sorry.
me for session. Yes, sir. I would like to go with my PPT, sir. Will you allow me, or my PPT I have shared with Bhoge Sanjay, sir?
Sir,
So,
if you could, you share. It is better
okay.
that I'm making you presenter.
Yeah, please, please. Yes, now I can share.
Yeah.
Just give me a minute so that I can present my PPTs. I hope my PPTs are visible now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Raut sir. Thank you. So first of all, I thanks Mr. Sanjay Bhoge sir and the entire team of NIPHTR for giving me an opportunity to speak on such an important topic of professional social workers' role in rural development of an India. So I welcome you for my presentation. I would like to give a different perspective to understand the rural India as well as the people who living in rural India, mostly the rural people and the tribal people. So I wish to move ahead with my PPTs. Just give me a moment. If you could able to see, just let me know. Okay, thank you. I think my PPTs are visible, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
yes, thank you, sir. So you could see that these are the some picture where you can get the some characteristics of an rural India. If you visit any rural area, you could see that there are the people working in the farm and there are some women who are actually working in their daily needs to be performed and they are involved in some cottage industries. So you could see that the most of the characteristics of the rural people that they are involved in agriculture, involved in fulfilling their basic needs to their own cottage industries, as well as are certain services which will be useful for the rural people are available nowadays because of globalization. There are changes in our rural life also. So you could see that the villages in rural area, now they are showing this picture. But if you could see some villages who are having a marketplace or some villages who are settled around the highways, state highways or national highways, they have a different pictures to tell about their own rural sociology. And you could see that because of commercialization in rural India also there are certain changes. But if you could see areas in an interior locations in most of the rural areas, you could see this picture. And yes, of course, I stay in a place like a Kolhapur in the state of Maharashtra, where the highest number of and you can see income tax payers are there from this district in a state as well as in at a national level. So we could see that the farmers in this area is also very rich, and we could see that there is an existence of an a cooperative farmers units are there. There are certain non-government organizations. There are some several farmer producing companies who are having a very strong impact in rural life. And apart from that, we could see we have a very good example of an Gokul milk like an Amul in India. At the same time, which is a tribal district in Nandurbar district, which is considered as the most backward districts of in Maharashtra, and maybe in the last positions in the backward districts of an India also. So you could see that this kind of a change and the scenario is changing. But I could notice that apart from our 60% of tribe, you can see 60% of a rural population from our own entire population, we could see that only half of the percent of the people have could able to change their life in the rural area, but half of the people still they are enjoying this kind of a life in a rural area. Similarly, I would like to give an certain examples related to the uh, tribal communities. We usually call them as in remote communities, and these communities are involved in traditional primary occupation, as you are aware, like fishing, animal husbandry, simple mining, and major their survival aspect is depend on the minor forest produce collection. Like they collect the leaves, they collect the leaves like tendu patta, which would be very largely used in rural India for bidi making. Even the fruits they collect from the forest area can be used for consumption, or in a small scale they can sell it to the local market, and there they are not getting a very good values. Same way the firewood is an essential source of their requirement to prepare their food. And you could see that in almost tribal villages, the firewood still been prepared. And actually for that, we have misconceptions. Many people have misconceptions that the tribal peoples are cutting the forest, but the picture is not like that, because they used to collect the wood which has been actually like a waste which has been lying on the fire. They are not actually cutting the trees. So that is the realities and misconception most of the people in India, mostly urban people, are having. Mostly like an agriculture also, now they are get involved into an agriculture, and their practice of agriculture is very difficult because they do not have a fertile land. They are living in hilly locations, and in step farming they are doing. And if you could see this huts of an tribal people, you could see this kind of a huts are usually observed in tribal areas. And considering this situation, if you ask me, if the areas in rural areas they are underdeveloped, there is a role of social workers. So definitely, because of the underdevelopment in this rural area as well as in tribal area, there is a big role social worker can play in these rural areas of an India. And if you consider what is the role of a professional social worker in this rural area, and there is a lots of confusions related to that. So I will just ask simple questions to all of us, that the social worker working in rural area actually in whose interest? Because you could see that mostly the interest of these rural people and tribal people is never been considered. Only some right based or the interest based organizations, they are actually working in the interest of these rural or tribal people. But mostly you will see that the kind of jobs which are available in rural areas, yes, we have the people who are entering into this field, they are definitely having an interest in rural areas, or they want to work with the tribal for their upliftment, for their development. But the picture is not actually clear regarding that. Does all the social workers are really working in the interest of all these rural people or tribal people? If you ask me the answer for that, the answer is here. So we have to be in somebody's side, either with the urban people or rural people or tribal people. But actually you could see that we have an ecosystem of an administration, even the system of an finance, the system of an grants, and mostly the developmental scheme or the upliftment scheme, or maybe the kind of the administrative infrastructure we have. You could see that it is coming from urban to some semi rural areas, and then it has reaching to the tribal people. So you could see that there are lots of government machineries involved into that, like central government. So even if you are working in rural area, you could see that there are the central plans, central schemes are implemented rural in tribal areas, or there are certain state plans, state programs are there which has to be implemented in rural and tribal area. Or panchayat raj institutions also have some of their unique plans which has to be implemented in gram panchayats, or maybe through the gram sabha they are implemented. But actually, if you ask me, in rural area, when you are working for the upliftment or development of an rural people, there is an always an dilemma that mostly the policies is prepared by the urban people, and the kind of a plans which has been come to the rural areas, in that cases the local needs are not been considered. And with the tribal, you could see that they have some special rights as per our constitutional provision, that PESA Act, some of you might be knowing. So under PESA Act, the provision of Panchayats extension to the Scheduled Areas Act, which popularly known as an PESA, which empowers the Gram Sabha to give certain rights. So all the resources, natural resources that are located in that villages, that is an assets of an peoples living in a Gram Panchayat, and Gram Sabha is an empowered to take all the decisions related to giving those resources to either to the central government or maybe state government or any one of the Panchayat Raj institutions. But you could see that now recently 25 years have been completed for implementing a PESA Act, but we could notice that the PESA is not been successfully implemented in all over the India, and the PESA may not given that much freedom to all the tribal peoples, all the tribal communities, that they can and protect their natural habitat like a forest and all the natural resources that are available in their areas. So that is the big questions that when we are working for rural development or tribal development, in whose interest we are working. So really that is a debatable issue, but we have to, you can see, go our issues with those authorities, and you could see that during working with all those people, we have to see that being a professional social worker, mostly in rural tribal area, our interest should be towards those clients associated with these rural or the tribal areas in these locations. Then only the real social work practice will evolve and the people's worries and problems will be solved. Another issues that I noticed for professional social worker in rural and tribal area is unlearning of prejudices, misconception and falsification. As you are aware that we, even the educated or the graduate or postgraduate social worker, they have learned so many things, but when they come to the rural areas, they get confused with the complex prejudices, social structure, some misconceptions that are already exist in rural areas, and some falsifications. So being, I noticed that most of the social worker, those who are young, they always unlearn these prejudices, misconception and falsification. And because of that, there is the kind of an target which they have been decided for their work and for their rural development or tribal development remain incomplete. The reason behind that is the existence of an caste system in our rural area. In tribals, there is no any caste system because only one caste people, they are living together in a peaceful environment. But if you could see in rural area, the existence of caste system, which has made plenty of the prejudices in our day-to-day life. And because of that, you could see that because of that prejudices, the religious practices are there. The caste system is in such a deeply rooted in villages where the different caste people have different places to stay. They have different gullies to stay, and the leadership of backward or maybe very primitive caste people will not be accepted in a villages. So you could see that in because of the influence of an caste system for so many centuries in Indian society, you could see that some religious, some social practices are there, which will be creating lots of hurdles. And even for social worker, whatever the new knowledge or the whatever the learn things which I learned, he has been forced to accept the prejudices, or it is for very difficult for him to go with these prejudices, some misconception or falsification. But in villages, you could see without prejudices, misconceptions and falsification understanding, it is very difficult for social worker to work in a rural or a tribal environment. Yes, of course, there are certain religious traditional practices which are associated with some misconception as well as the prejudices, like the killing of animals is there, or even the cutting of sometimes the plants are there. And because of that, there is an very huge loss to our natural resources also. Even the water get contaminated, the natural green cover of a forest is also been affected because of certain religious practices. And because of that, in the social worker even find it difficult to change the cultural or religious practices of those rural people is a little challenging. And of course, you could see that the marriage ceremony is also and the biggest hurdles in rural areas, because the kind of and money has been spent for the marriages, and the kind of and you can see budgeting was made. Mostly the most of the people, you could see that very recently the farmer suicide, the major reasons for the farmer suicide was an bankruptcy, or maybe because of a loan which they cannot pay in a time. And if you could see the reasons for the loans is a marriage purpose. So marriage ceremony is an huge expenses which creates lots of bankruptcy for the rural people. And because of that, there will be lots of issues. So social workers should keep in mind, in case of a tribal, there is a different issues, because the dowries will be given to the female in tribal. So mostly in tribals, the marriage related, dowry related issues are not there. But in case of the Hindu cultural, socio-cultural system, mostly the dowry is given to the male members, and because of that there is a certain issues and many of falsification ideas are there which are still exist. And even if there is a law for dowry prohibition act is there, but in social life there is very openly such practices are carried out. And the lastly, the gender issues are still exist. The woman has not given an equal status in a society. Now we could see that there are certain changes in rural life, but mostly in backward areas or the villages which are inside the backward areas, there you could see that there are lots of issues related to the females. The issues related to the characters are also there. Child marriages are carried out, the domestic violence is there. Apart from that, you could see that the misconceptions related to or falsification on the woman's image, like a dakin or evil female, that patches or that kind of an practices are still exist, and lots of superstitions are there. So for a social worker to digest with such a sociology of a rural and tribal areas is very difficult, and because of that there is an unlearning of many things is happen for a social worker. So social worker need to find a way to how to overcome with all these prejudices, misconception and falsification. If you see a rural development, I think most of you will be must aware about what the rural development means. So rural development means in a general terms, economic and community development action. So through rural development, we are trying to bring out the changes in economic status of a people, as well as we will try to bring out the some community development activities or actions to improve the economy. So entire rural development you can see is centered around improving the economic infrastructure, improving the economy of rural areas and tribal area, and at the same time improving the quality of life of an individual, families and community. In quality of life, we have earlier we had our just three basic necessities like food, clothing and shelter, but now the new necessities like education and health is very important. And now also nowadays we are going adding the availability of an connectivity. So either connectivity related to the electricity, roads, as well as for communication, the digital connectivity is also nowadays considered as an important necessity for growth and development. So you could see that the picture of the rural areas several years is like this, and now the rural areas also moving to this. So when we can able to bring out such a kind of an shift where the quality of life and economy of an rural areas will be improved, then only the real rural development may takes place. So through this picture, I would just like to showcase you that what kind of a dream that we can expect in rural areas. Then I would like to tell you about some of the dimensions of rural development without which our rural development may not be possible. Because throughout my earlier experience, through my work with several NGOs and through our activities in rural areas, we notice that there is a certain kind of and dimensions do exist in rural areas, and without touching those dimensions we cannot actually develop the rural area. So you could see that the economic dimensions which is responsible for the growth and development of a rural area, you could see that in rural area there are lots of resources, natural resources are there. So these resources are actually underutilized or overutilized. If you ask me how the resources are overutilized in rural areas, you could see that the resources like water has been overutilized by the government, either by the central government or the state government. You can see a very burning example of in Mumbai city. If you could see that most of the water that Mumbai city is getting is mostly from the Thana district or even the Palghar district, mostly the Thana district. But the people in Thana district and Palghar district, they are struggling to the villages of these areas, struggling to get the water very easily. They have to fetch almost 20 to 25 kilometers to get water resource. So mostly the water resources which are actually reservoirs which have been actually built by the government, all that water has been utilized for industrial or urban purposes. So all the water resources in Thane and Palghar district, you could see has been overutilized by the urban areas, and in certain areas the water resources are underutilized, and because of that you could see that there is a gap of economic growth and development in rural areas. So without taking an optimum use of resources, the economic growth of rural areas may not be possible. Here you could see in mostly in some areas, because of an drip irrigation or sprinkler irrigation, the water has been used very particularly, and that water resources can be used for a huge production through this drip irrigation in certain areas. So there are certain examples that how we use the resources, underutilize or overutilize, and mostly all those resources are heavily used by the government officials or mostly for the urban areas, and very little share is coming to the rural areas. Same thing is with the electricity. If you could see the electricity supply for the farmers, mostly at present the electricity supply is available to the farmers mostly at the night time. So it is an injustice. It is expected that the farmer should work in the night in their farm, where there are lots of issues related to the security, and lots of other issues are also available in a night time. But because even if there is a lack of resources and lack of facilities, the government is expecting that the farmer should give water, they should water their, you can see the farms in the night time. So that is a big tragedy in the Indian village. So economic growth has to be achieved. How it can be achieved? For that, we have to see that we have to manage the resources in a such a way that the economic growth of a rural areas can be take place. Similarly, you could see that for in a social relationship, the well-being is do exist in rural areas, but that well-being is a complex example of a different castes. They are depend on each other for getting the labor activities or even for getting the livelihood opportunities. So you could see that in all the villages, the social engagement or social well-being is based on between those are the rich farmers and the laborers. So you could see that the big farms are always been holding, they have been, the land holding is with the rich community people, and the laborers are poor caste people. So that structure is still exists in rural area. Gender issues are still exist. The female have a very minimum role to play in a, you can see a rural life also. In family, she has to play the major role. Actually, you could see that with with the help of her husband, by putting shoulder to shoulder, she is giving a very great work to the families, but her status in rural area is been affected, and that is the major hindrance for the social development of a female in rural areas. And of course, if any new change, either people from lower caste or a female or maybe women are coming, there is a lack of support. So social well-being is such a complex structure in rural life of an India, where you could see that yes, of course there are certain good examples are there, but mostly you could see the backward areas, the social well-being is associated with either with the caste, gender, or lack of support from the higher caste communities as well as the main members in a society. And in any rural area, without the politics, the things will not work or they will not move. And you all will be aware that in rural India, there is a very clear-cut bifurcation of leaders and followers. And the followers, they are very much loyal to their leaders. And leaders, mostly you could see that in higher politics, the people can change, but in the politics of the village will never change, because it will be continued from generation to generation within the families, and the rural politics will be very rigid. The people will not change their political ideas, political grouping very easily in rural area as we could see in urban areas. So most of the leaders and their followers, we notice that in rural areas, they are misusing their powers or their capacity that they have been elected, and with the help of that status, they are enjoy the special right, and they are actually harnessing the others right. So lots of corruption is there, and which that corruption has been promoted by the political group. So when we are involved in a rural development process, that time we have to notice that without ignoring economic, social, and political elements, we cannot even think of bringing up any kind of a development in rural area. So we have to go with a political and we have to study the political environment of a rural area. We have to study social environment. Then only we can able to move forward for an economic growth and development of a rural areas. Now we'll move ahead with some of the facts related to the rural or a tribal society that exists in rural India. As you are aware that some socio-cultural adaptation practices are there exist in rural India, and we popularly call them as an Dantakatha. So without ignoring these facts, if we move, you can see if we go ahead, in that cases, the rural development not be possible. So it is a role of a social worker that they should understand the socio-cultural adaptation practices of that particular geographical or that regions of a rural area, the kind of the stories, the mythologies that do exist in that area, and the belief system of the rural people is very strong. So cultural practices, the kind of traditions that they are following, the rituals that has been practiced, the concept of a god, even the concept of jatra and yatra can be used and very effective tools for rural development process. Even the men and woman life has to be understood in a very proper way. If we go with a very wrong, even the administrator, like I know IS officer, any political leader, they also face a lots of problem if men and woman relations or their life or relationship is not been understood in a very proper sense. So being a social worker or the for upcoming social worker, it is very necessary that they should understand when they are going for rural development. They should understand the fact that the socio-cultural adaptation practices of the rural areas are very important. And without clarifying all those concepts, if you go for rural development, then one is going to be face challenges for running and that development and activity. Apart from this, there are certain personal services that social worker need to offer to certain individual families, or there are certain padas and wadis that are available in tribal areas, because the tribals are living in padas or wadis, that is called as a scattered location. Because of their ownership of their land, they used to set up their houses in their own farms. So they set up the padas and wadis, and mostly in hilly area they are living. So there is an boundaries for their agriculture farms, and on basis of that there are the certain locations are there. And for the community and for the villages, what kind of an personal services social worker can offer, on basis of that only they are allowed to enter. Because I had an wide experience to be work with the villages. So when we are going there, if what identity you carries an identity as a student, you carries an identity of an officials, government officials or NGO representatives. They have certain experiences in different areas. So considering that, they will treat you a different way, and what kind of fan services you offer, on basis of that only they will accept you. So it should be very clear for the social worker that what personal services that one is going to offer for these element, then only you will be welcome in this rural area. Then without taking help of some key persons like a social leader, and without serving economic interests, the social worker can't work. Even the political leaders in Panchayat Raj institutions cannot be ignored, because their bonds with the local people or the villagers is very strong. So they need to be also considered, and with their help only we can actually move ahead, or we can take up our some rural development activities. Now you could see that there are some misconception rural people, that you could see that in India there is a very big debate about vegetarian and non-vegetarian people. So misconception that most of a common man, even the social worker, may have in his mind that vegetarian people are kind and non-vegetarian people, they will be cruel or they will be angry. But actually this misconceptions leads to lots of issues in our, you can say, understanding about the people. So this misconception has to be removed when the when new social workers are, or the upcoming professional social worker, they are entering into the rural life. Second misconceptions related to the poverty is a lack of non-essential. So we have always a feeling that the urban life is better, but actually the rural life is better than the urban life. If you ask me how, here is the answer. You could see that the urban areas depend on water mostly on rural areas, and through these government authorities, they actually the rural water reservoirs, they have been turned into the urban areas. But you could see that because of an existence of forest, water, land and air, the you could see that the quality of all those factors is very good in rural and tribal areas. Even you could see that the longevity of rural people is very high, but urban people, they are depend on the medicines for their survival. Even the nature of disease, you could see that most of the diseases, they are noticed in a rural area. They are differ from urban diseases because in urban population, the lifestyle disease like diabetes, sugar, hypertension, blood pressure, these kind of diseases are there. Yes, of course, in rural area it is there, but the lifestyle is such a that they have a very good activities will be carried out in their rural areas. So best environment to live is a rural area, and mostly in urban area there is a existence of and pollutions will be there. So these are the misconceptions that is it the rural is better or urban is better. So of course rural life is always better than the urban life. Another misconceptions about the tribal people is that the tribals are crazy, and crazy means crazy for everywhere. You could see that these pictures will be telling you the kind of a tradition culture that they are following in their, you can see in their daily life. So tribal contributions in forest and rational resource preservations and protection is very high since the very long time, since the ancient time and till now. And even you could see that all the natural resources are today still available in a tribal areas. Even if you see the Mumbai city, the RA milk colony you could see, or maybe wildlife sanctuary that is exists in Borivali. There you could see that within that wildlife sanctuary, the tribal people are staying there, and they are helping actually the forest department to preserve the resource and even to protect the wildlife also. Even the tribal contribution for natural resource protection is very high. Similarly, the tribal contributions in sports, tradition, culture, and medicinal plant is very high. Most of the tribal communities, they are aware about around 10,000 different medicinal plants, and they are actually known to the tribal people. One of the study which I have conducted there, I able to identify in Maharashtra itself, there are 3,000 medicinal plants that tribal people are using in their day-to-day life. And the craziness due to backwardness does not mean the inferior in intelligence. So these are the some misconception that the social worker should not be keep in their mind when they are going for rural development. Towards moving ahead, we will see that these kind of methods that you're all using, the tools are there, and these are the techniques are used mostly in social work. I think most of the students or the social workers will be aware. So I will just scrolling to the next slides. The specific role that social worker has to play, that most of the jobs are available in rural areas. There, the social worker has to play the role of an need analyzer, project manager, middle manager, counselor, or an evaluator. And mostly the rural development, you could see that most of the social worker are getting a job as an in an NGO sector, or maybe and project phase activities they have to complete their job structure. So role of social worker, that for every community there should be need should be analyzed, and he should prepare such a development project or a plan for the villages or tribal areas. And in between he should see that the middle level management he can perform his role in middle management, as well as for bringing out the change management he can perform the role as a counselor or evaluator. And apart from the general roles most of the social worker are aware, they it has to be performed in rural area as well. Now in Gram Sabha, you could see that the most of the challenges for the social worker is to discuss and recommend the appropriate actions with regard to the reports of the vigilance committee. So for a social worker, the Gram Sabha is a very crucial element, because through Gram Sabha, most of the changes or the most of the decisions are taken up. So for that purpose, social worker has to, you can see, discuss the importance of Gram Sabha with the villagers. He should recommend, he should get involved in recommendation of an appropriate action plans with the help of villager or some of the groups, some of the active elements in the villages. In the form of vigilance committee, the some formal groups are there. Those are elected member, non-formal groups are there, which are the pressure groups are there, or certain administrative officials are there, or some activities they are actually helping to bring out certain changes in the rural areas. Apart from that, I wish to show you some of the better model villages in India, where these villages has achieved very remarkable things in process of development, So we will see Dharani, one of the village in Bihar, is popular for his solar power creation. So entire village is producing the solar, where the Gram Panchayat took an initiative and they set up an solar power plant, and the all the villagers are getting electricity through the solar panel powers. Same way in Maharashtra, you could see that in Melghat regions of Satpura, you could see that Pevihir will that village has turned 182 hectares of barren land into an community forest, and through that joint forest management activities are carried out, and the tribal peoples of these regions, they are getting benefited through this joint forest management activities. So this is ideal model. Hivre Bazaar, which is known for its water conservation activity, like an Ralegan Siddhi in Maharashtra. Then in Tamil Nadu, one of the village called Odenturai will be generating the electricity and selling to the state electricity board also. So that is also a very good example. Then in Nagaland, Chizami is one of the village where the women in that village will brought an socio-economic change and brought an sustainable transformation by women leadership in this village of Nagaland. In Gangadev Pali in Andhra Pradesh, where the Gram Panchayat has set up an scientific water filtration plant, and they have a community-owned cable TV services. So they are earning profit, and they have generated the revenue also for the entire village also. There are certain other example which I would like to show that Kokre village is in Karnataka, which is set up a very ideal example of how the human beings can stay with an animal. So very good birds and human coexistence and very complete harmony of a nature is noticed there in this part of Karnataka. Then in Nagaland, another zoom cultivation where it has an history of 700-year-old Angami settlement, where eco-friendly version of Zoom agriculture is still exists. Punsari village of Gujarat, where which is come out as the first digital village with an investment of 16 crore rupees. Even the school in that village is air conditioned, and the village have a free Wi-Fi facilities. So the sarpanch of that village really took a very great efforts to making his Punsari village as a digital village. Ramchandrapur in Telangana is a very good village for their wastewater management activities, and the entire water which has been wasted in the villages has been utilized for gardening and even for the nearing barren land to grow various plants in that area. Then many of you may aware of Mailong as an cleanest village of not only in India but the Asia's cleanest village. So that is the culture that certain villages are having. Piplantri is one of the noble village in Rajasthan which has run a Save Girl Child campaign and increasing the green cover through planting the plantation during the birthdays of the girls. So these are the certain good examples of the rural India, some of the model villages of the rural India. And with this, I would like to notice your attentions of all the upcoming professional social worker, that these are the areas where the rural development may be possible in coming days, so that the in rural areas and the life of an rural areas is definitely. So that's why nowadays you could see that many people are coming up with having their second house in farmhouse in the rural area for living the hustle and bustle life of an urban areas, and enjoying the free peaceful life and the life with the nature in a rural areas. Yes, there are certain challenges in administration. So social workers should see that they should be able to actually overcome these challenges in administration, that there will be top-down techno-bureaucratic approach. So social worker has to address that approach, and he has to understand his role in overcoming the challenges. People's participations is very important in planning, strategy building, implementation, monitoring, and follow-up activities. And mostly administrations people, they are interested in achieving the paper target, but the real target in the real life of people is not been achieved. So that is a challenge for social worker, and gender equality is a challenge really for social worker in rural area because of the constraints in men and women relationship that still exist in rural area. And mostly administrators are ignoring the local condition because they just want to impress the higher authorities. So local conditions will be ignored. So that is a big hurdle for a social worker when they are working in a rural areas along with the administration. And yes, there are many multiple people in formal and informal way are involved in rural development, and social worker has to develop liaison with all these people. And the lastly, just my appeal to all the upcoming social worker is that the digital technology can be used in rural area for bringing out the awareness, to recording the geotag photos, or to bring to putting that records in a very effective way. Even the monitoring system can be an e-monitoring system. The digital literacy of the stakeholders or upgradation of their knowledge is necessary. Now DBT access is very useful for rural areas because they have to spend lots of time and money for getting the benefits of the government schemes. So IT infrastructure is a need of an rural areas. Grievance redressal cell also has to be made, and electronic way. Same way the digital communication is promoted in rural area, and we can think of making an every village global village in days to come. If that made, then the rural life will be really peaceful, and the what expectations that we have will be achieved. And here my presentation ends. So I take this opportunity to thank all the organizer of the entire organizing committee, and I will be very happy to joining with you all. So if you have any questions, I will be staying there for question answer session. So thank you very much for your patience listening, and for I took 10 minutes more, so I apologize for that. So once again, I take this opportunity to thanks the entire team of an National Institute for Public Health for giving me an opportunity for presenting my topic to all. Thank you very much. Sir, you are
We can't hear you, sir. Not yet.
Hello, hello, hello.
We can hear you
yes,
now.
sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for your presentation. It was very extensive and yes, informative too. We have, all of us are having roots in the rural area. We all have come from the rural area, and definitely forestry, farming, animal husbandry, and so many areas are there on which we are depending. Even if we are staying in the urban area, and yes, we have to look up look back to our roots and we have to serve that area. So your guidance is very good for that. Now, Sanjay Bhatt sir told that 95% professional social workers go for a job. But yes, since last few years, I am watching Amruta Joshi, who has started her Banspandan Foundation, and she has started counseling, empowering the adolescents in the Kolhapur side area. So instead of running behind a job, she is independently and doing the things, and she has started and she's working. She has a experience about more than 500 volunteers she is having. She has counseled so many children, encouraged them for better education and solved their problems. So I just this young girl I tried to uh, bring here to share her experiences as a professional social worker working in a district like Kolhapur. So I would like to invite Amruta to share her thoughts. Please, Amruta. I'm making you presenter so that you will be able to do the share your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Just a minute, hold on.
Yes, sir. Yes, thank you so much. I will just present my PPT. Can you see my PPT, my presentation?
Yes, yes, yes. It is
Yeah,
visible.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. I just switched off my video because of I don't have any accessibility for my internet. So I just proceed my presentation. First of all, I would like to thank the National Institute of Public Health and Research Center, Mumbai, for giving me the opportunity to speak as a panelist on the occasion of World Social Work Day for 2022. So today's in this session, I will going to discuss about role of social work with adolescent students. So all we know, this topic is very new, and I think we need to think and study on it for the better implementation. Because of as my experience past 10 years, I'm very much struggling and very much researching on that topic because of this is a this topic is in childhood phase. I know in many institute, in many curriculum, we are studying in specialization as a woman and child development as a woman and welfare of child. So, but as a practical level, we should think and we should try to more work on that subject. So adolescent age or adolescent age of students don't have any kind of expressions, and they don't know how to express, how to behave, how to talk. So they need to assess through this type of professionals or any counselors or any type of adolescent social workers. So we can assist them, we can help them, and we can supervise them for betterment of their activity and their behaviors. So I feel as a professional social worker and as a school counselor, we need to focus on that issue. So as we know, adolescent is the as we know, adolescent is the phase of life between childhood and adulthood. From ages 10 to 19 years, this is a unique stage of human development. And in this transition period, every adolescent experiences different type of rapid physical, mental, and social changes. So may sometime they are unable to express, may they are unable to can't tell anything about their changes in internally and externally. So that in this time of period, if social worker या फिर कोई काउंसलर रहेगा तो उन्हें अच्छे से हम लोग मतलब ट्रीट कर सकते हैं. So for that reason, adolescent counselor or adolescent social worker is important in every school. If it is a primary school, if it is a secondary school, if it is an undergraduation college. But I feel it is an important subject to implementation in every education stages, and need to assess every child. So we know there is a also science, and we need to acknowledge this is the changes and this is the period. So in that puberty changes, every boy and girl they know about their sexuality, and they have different type of curiosity about their physics, about their behavior, about opposite sex. So every time they are just digging, and they are finding something in unique way. So in this time, child may have fail, or child may have got any मतलब एक अलग तरीके का उनको एक्सपीरियंस आ सकता है. तो फॉर दैट रीजन वी नीड टू हेल्प देम for acknowledgement and for good information. And also in that phase also cognitive changes also happen. And in this phase we can see changes in the 5 areas like attention, memory, processing speed, organization, and metacognition. So we need to help them to what is type of problem they have facing, and what is what this is happened. So we can assist them, we can they can resolve their problems, and they can come in front of us for taking any help. And also social transition period, teenagers develop their own social identity, and through their they just finding their different type of likes, dislikes, their choices, their internal, external interest. So that in this developing new type of social relationship phase, they just finding broad wave, मतलब उसके लिए वो अलग अलग तरह की रिलेशंस में मतलब ये खोजते रहते हैं कि हम लोगों को मतलब कौन कौन से रिलेशंस में मतलब किस तरह से अच्छे से मतलब ये हम लोग सस्टेन कर सकते हैं. और and also adolescents feel sometimes they feel कि हम लोगों को ये सब environment में या फिर changing in environment they have difficulties to adapt, and they have difficulties to understanding their own relationship problems. So that social worker can help them, and social worker can assist them to resolve their problems. And also we can see there 4 elements. This is the impacts on adolescents in different ways, like excessive or maybe we can see there in on screen media, family, peers, and friendship, and schools. So all these 4 elements impacts on adolescents in different ways, like excessive or abusive use of media, influence of good or bad friendship, or maybe family environment, school environment, or school health. Also these type of things are impacted through media and also peer pressure. Sometimes in that phase, peer pressure is more pressurized to another person, another student, and they may involve in maybe criminal offense or activities. So this type of things happen in every day, in everywhere. So that we just need to create a trained social worker and a trained counselor for assist to their these adolescents. So I just need to go. Yeah. And also in this phase, we can see students also have psychosocial issues like an identity problem. They just identify their own identity, just like who I am, where I am studying, where I am staying, why I'm looking like this, why I'm fat, why I'm looking like a black. Just this type of different type of issues they are facing on their own basis. So sometimes they can express, sometimes they can't. So on that basis, if school counselor or if any adolescent counselor is appointing any school, so they can help to student for resolving their this type of issue, and we can train them through life skill education and also assertive skill training. So children can betterly resolve their own ways if appoint in all schools. So this type of problem, identity related, gender identity related, and sexuality related problems, now we can see in every school. And also sexual abuse and this type of offenses currently seen in everywhere. So this type of problems want to talk and want to raise these issues through children, need to if in school counselor is available, so we can assist them. I feel working with adolescent is requires a different skill set and mindset also. If when we working with these childrens, we need to focus on adolescent needs. सो इसमें जो नीड्स है वो नीड्स इस तरह से है जो मतलब मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि इफ वी कैन perfect implementation strategies we can put, so this type of problems we can handle through social workers. And also better multi-agencies relationship we can build. So we can get more resources, and through stakeholders we can developing different type of strong implementation strategies for adolescent students. just like हम लोग अभी अर्बन और रूरल एरिया में अभी देखते हैं. So adolescent girls have faced issues related menstruations, and basically in rural area, adolescent girls don't know, mostly don't know is sanitary pad is important, it is a healthy way for our health, and it is a management strategy. But for the issue of economics, for the issue of cultural activity, so they have taboo regarding related menstruation and their management. So we if there in any social worker and any adolescent counselor, they can counsel to students, counsel to girls, counsel to their parents, and they can assist to resolve this issue. So I think adolescent counselor and adolescent social worker is mandatory role in every school. So that I feel this is the important, we need to think on that issue. And also we can see here school mental health and also substance abuses related problems and high risk behaviors is seen in every schools and every community. So for that reason we need to help them to student facing these challenges, and also we can openly share and openly express, giving them any platform through this social work, professional social work. So children will come to us, and they share their thoughts and their feelings, and they modify their behavior in good manner. So I feel this is the important thing to implementation wise we should think, and we should try to in research way to create some capacity building, and create some funds, and create some trainings to schools and students also. So it is an important issue, so we can working on that. In past 10 years, I was working in Kolhapur with adolescent age students at the age of 9 to 19 years. For graduate students also, I was working for them. In that phase, I faced different type of hurdles, like government officers, government permissions I can't get. Schools also not allowed to enter for the implementing this program. Students also many times not trusting on us. So at the initial phase, we struggling lots of thing, and we facing lots of issues. But after 2 to 3 years, when children's parents and teachers realize this type of issues we facing in every day, and we need to talk with expert person. So after that, some of students, some of teachers came in front of us, and talking their different type of issues. So I think this is the initial phase, and this is the childhood phase of this subject, and we need to more and more create capacity building and create power to this subject. And after that, if government and our social work policies create some different type of views for the implementation policy, implementation strategies, so this subject also create a powerful platforms. So we can see here some warning signs we can in every students, and we need to as a social work assist them. We know struggling teens usually distress, like human trafficking children's, like destitute children's. We need to help them. Also children have self-esteem related issues, school failure and truancy also children facing. So different type of issues children facing, and we need to train adolescent counselor and adolescent uh, social worker for the resolving these issues, and tackling with adolescent students. So in always we think also some teachers and parents also asking what is the social worker, what is the adolescent social worker. So I think this is the intense support system, and for the empowering young people, and also through this we are empowering their families and communities also. So we need to create this type of social workers and counselors, and also through this we give them a supervision, qualitative supervision, and we give them excellent opportunities through professional way. And is the this is the specialist practice. We can resolve trauma related problems, and any mental health related problems, and any school based or parenting related problems. So we can if we get any trained social worker, if we get any a trained counselor, so school can welcome. But I feel till today's date, this subject is in a very nutshell format, and we need to focus, and we need to study more and more. So what is the role of social worker in adolescent development? We know previously we talk lots of things, and I feel every social worker is a role model for every child and every adolescent student. So if this type of social worker is available in school or any colleges, they can help the student and they can create this type of powerful program. So we need to focus on that. And through this social worker help for the assessment for the standing families and teenagers, and also create promotions for the program, and also they work as a consultants also. They create different type of resources, and they also giving counseling services if it is a crisis, if it is a mental health related issue, if it is any kind of academic problems. So this type of assistance they can give. And also every social worker, every who are working with the adolescent, who are working with the children, they know betterly what is a child, what is a child's mental health, what is a child's psychology. For that reason I always reinforce and always give strongly recommendation every adolescent social worker and every social worker should know what is child's mental health and what is how to conduct their problems. So in that phase and in that way we can assist by psychotherapy, and also we can give them coordination and communication through counseling. So it is a good thing we are talking on that issue and we are discussing through this webinar. So if you want any social worker working in this sector, so firstly they know what is on adolescent and what is their needs. Through their we need to assessment, we need to know what is their family dynamics, because of some of issues, different type of issues in we can see in every family. Some of children facing communication problems, some of children facing economical problem, some of children facing community type of hurdles or community type of quarrels. So I feel family dynamics is important, and parent child relationship and teacher and child relationship is a most important thing to supervise and observe in this practice. And also cultural competencies and different type of opportunities want to observe and want to create for the empowerment of adolescent. And also we need to understand adolescents needs. This needs is maybe a different type of needs, maybe physical, mental, social, sexual, or maybe academic level. So whenever जब तक हम लोग बच्चों से बात नहीं करेंगे, जब तक हम लोग ये स्टूडेंट से बात नहीं करेंगे या फिर उनके साथ मतलब हमारा शेयरिंग नहीं होगा, तब तक आई फील we can identify their problems. So it is an important confidentiality to maintain in when we working with adolescent, because of confidential care for adolescent is important, because of it encourage access to care, and it's supposed to increase discussions about sensitive topics and behaviors that may substantially affects on their health and well-being. So that we need to every time maintain their confidentiality, and also as a case worker, as a social worker, we need to maintain their record also, because of जब तक हम लोग उनका हिस्ट्री नहीं देखेंगे तब तक हम लोगों को पता नहीं चलेगा कि what is exactly problem facing these children. So that it is important their casework also we need to conduct this. And also at the last point, advocacy and policy which is importantly, because of I feel कि हम लोग अभी भी मतलब ये सब चीज़ों में अभी थोड़ा मतलब बहुत पीछे है, तो इसके लिए हम we need to work on that. So as per NASA, they give some guidelines because of essential area of knowledge and understanding for conducting positive development for adolescent. So as per their guidelines, human growth and behavior and their cultural differences we need to know, and as per their needs we give them assistance. And role of adolescent, if it is an individual, if it is a physical, if it is a emotional, maybe personal or sexuality related, we need to create them a space, we need to create them space for expression, we need to create them platforms for expressing their different type of feelings. So through this, children will come to us and share their hidden feelings and whatever they are experiencing in their daily life or past experiences. So that we need to create this type of work through whenever we work with adolescents. So this is a critical role, and through this educational way and through this therapeutic way, we different type of if children have facing any related depression type of and mental health related issue or any social issue, so that उस वक्त हम लोगों को उनका जो भी एक्सपीरियंस है वो एक्सपीरियंस हम लोगों को मतलब उनसे मतलब सुनना चाहिए. We have to listen them and we have to assist them. So through this we can work for adolescent, and we can give them a better platform. And as per my experience, past 10 years I was working in Kolhapur Jilla, and I faced different type of personal hurdles and also career on the career basis hurdles, because of people don't know what is counseling, people don't know what is adolescent counseling, what is social work are working for adolescent and what is working for children. So we need to explain more and more. After that, they are expecting we giving them free counseling and free giving them assistance. But social worker are also professional social worker. So in this type of field or in this career, हम लोग अभी तो मतलब बच्चे हैं, ये हमारा फील्ड अभी तक नया है, तो इसके लिए we need more funds, we need government's assistance. After that, we think after 4 to 5 year the subjects also equally मतलब ये हो जाएगा अदर फील्ड जैसा HR है या फिर मेडिकल सोशल वर्क है या PSW है, तो उसके जैसा हो जाएगा. तो उसके लिए हमें बहुत ज़्यादा काम करना पड़ेगा, ऐसे मुझे लगता है. तो मेरे एक्सपीरियंसेस से यहाँ तक मैं आपको ये बोल सकती हूँ कि ये बच्चों के लिए बहुत ही अच्छा मतलब एक प्लेटफॉर्म है, और हम लोगों को उस तरह से मतलब काम करना ज़रूरी है, और इस पर बहुत ज़्यादा स्टडी करना भी इम्पोर्टेंट है. अगर हम लोग मतलब एज ए करिकुलम वे पे देखेंगे तो मतलब ये जस्ट करिकुलम के वे पे ही रह गया है. अगर सभी स्कूल में या फिर सभी कॉलेजेस में अगर एक सोशल वर्कर या फिर काउंसलर या फिर एडोलेसेंट वर्कर रहेगा, तो इट इज़ अ गुड to handle for every teacher and every parent, because of parents don't know what is exactly happened with children, what is exactly happened with their students. So अगर ये ट्रायंगुलर अच्छे से मतलब हम मेंटेन कर पाएंगे टीचर स्टूडेंट्स और पेरेंट्स में, तो अच्छी कम्युनिटी बनाने के लिए हम लोगों को मतलब ये बहुत ही हेल्प करेगा. सो दिस इज इट. अगर इस पे कोई किसी को मतलब कोई पूछना है तो आप पूछ सकते हो. दिस इज माय ओनली एक्सपीरियंसेस.
So thank you, Amruta, for your
Yes, sir.
presentation. You did very well. And as a social worker, working independently in the community, you know how they, what challenges they face and how they did all those things that you have shared very well. Now I would like to invite Dr. Nilanji Sir Deshpande. He is a Ayurveda doctor, plus she has done MSc in health sciences
She has completed her PhD from Tata Institute of Social Sciences on women's health, and for so many years she is working in research. She has published several articles. She is a member of a community of evaluation and then of South Asia evaluation community of India. She is associated with Prayas Sehat, all these organizations as ethical committee members and consistently working on various projects. She was a member of steering committee member also for some organizations. Uh, Thank you, madam. Since the first session you are here, today we had a lot of troubles with the technology. Uh, but yes, I request you to summarize and then talk about the public health and women and child health point of view, please, ma'am.
Yeah. So at the can I share my presentation?
Sure, sure. I will just transfer the
Yeah.
presentation slides to you. Yes.
Yeah. So at the outset, I would like to thank National Institute of Public Health Training and Research for this opportunity to speak on this illustrious panel. And it was really, I enjoyed listening to all the previous speakers, and it has also, in a way, made my job easy because some of the points which are already covered, I will not repeat them again. So what I would like to do today is basically talk about the theme of 2022 Social Work Day, which is Leave No One Behind. And this is also the motto of Sustainable Development Goals, that Agenda 2030. And what I'm trying to do is what are the key public health challenges for India and where, as social worker, we can contribute. Also, I want to bring in the issues of measurement. Like there are so many indices around us that Government of India is taking a lot of efforts to actually monitor the progress of Sustainable Development Goals. So I just want to present some of the snapshots of these indices. Why? Because I heard that today we have uh, participants from different parts of India. So I thought it will be good to just see that which state is doing good in terms of health or in gender equality. Then I will focus more on the role of social workers in addressing these challenges. And I think almost each of the previous speakers have talked about gender inequality as a major hurdle in achieving social development. And so I would like to also talk about a new index which looks at how well India is doing in terms of gender equality. So this is broadly my presentation. I look at this day as an opportunity to reflect the overall role of social workers in social development and also strategize our work. So I think the importance of today's celebration is that we need to strategize our work, and what we have heard, like be it corporate social responsibility or rural areas or adolescents, but how do we want to take this forward is what is more important for us. So, like I said, we are here to discuss more about co-building a new eco-social world, leaving no one behind. And many of you may have heard and also learned in depth about the Sustainable Development Goals. So basically, as you know that this is a set of 17 goals, and they are to be achieved by 2030. Of course, when these goals were adapted, there was like nobody had thought about the situation of COVID pandemic, and we have literally lost 2 years on all fronts. So we need to now see that when can we actually achieve this agenda. Uh, so each of the goals is backed by targets. So we have 169 targets to achieve these goals. And it's a long process how these goals were decided and which target was included, which did not find its place in the agenda. So it's a long process. I will not go in details, but I can tell you that there were all the stakeholders, like the governments were there, the civil society organizations were there, UN agencies were there, and private sector entities were also there. So in a way, it's an agenda which has come through consultations from all. So this we adapted on 25th September 2015. And the government of India has actually done a lot of planning. The schemes you have heard about Niti Aayog. So Niti Aayog has done very detailed mapping of each goal and the schemes which will help achieve this goal. So these are the 17 goals. Generally, if you see, the first 5 goals are about people. So poverty, no poverty, zero hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality. These are about basically people. Then there are goals which are about like clean water, energy, economic growth. So then infrastructure, reducing inequalities within countries. All these inequalities are very stark. So we need, there's a separate goal for that. Then there is also, because large number of people are now living in cities, there is one goal dedicated for cities. We also talked about responsible consumption and production. I think the Balvi sir said that how Mumbai is taking the resources from the rural areas around. Climate action is very important part. And then there are goals around like aquatic life and the life on land, like jungle, forests, and animals and all. One goal, and that is goal 16, which is about peace, which is very, very important. As we all know that currently Russia-Ukraine war is going on. So though this goal is there, I think it's not stopping countries from doing what they want to do. But we can see the impact. And each of these goals is related to health. So as you can see, poverty very clearly, poor people have poor access to health services. They fall more ill. So I can tell you about how each goal is related to public health, but we don't have the time. And the last goal, which is very important, is partnerships, because it is a now this understanding is there that to achieve this goal, all of us have to come together. So when I talk about health, in India, if you see, if you go and randomly ask any person about health, the first thing they think about doctors. But whereas doctors have a very little role, in the sense they are only playing the part of curative services. Large part of it is either public health scientists or social workers. So I think this we need to be very clear that to restore health or to achieve good health, it's not just doctors or it's not just the curative services, but all other services are equally important. So I thought it's very important to understand that how all these goals actually will help us achieve the good health. So these are the 5 P's of sustainable development. And like unless people are healthy, they are well nourished, we can't speak about all other goals. Again, we understand that planet, with the kind of climate issues we are having, it's important to restore our planet. Partnership, I spoke, peace, I talked about, and prosperity, that all these goals, to achieve all these goals, we will need money. So where will the money come from? And that's why prosperity is also very important. Now, leave no one behind. In a way, when we hear that, we feel that, okay, it's very easy, reaching the last mile, reaching that last person, but how do we do it? So this is at the core of the sustainable development agenda, that reaching that last person. Now, one of the major problems we have, and which like inequalities is was always a problem, especially in India. Like I always feel that if you take example of Maharashtra, so Mumbai and Gadchiroli both are in Maharashtra. So you can see the huge inequalities, income inequalities between a person in Mumbai and in Gadchiroli. So inequalities had always been part of our structures, but COVID pandemic has actually accentuated these inequalities. And this is from IMF, International Monetary Fund report, that there are almost 3.1 million deaths and 120 million people are pushed into extreme poverty. So the point I'm trying to make is being social workers and being engaged with rural development, I think our eyes and ears have to be open to this situation, that who are the people who are getting pushed further. Okay, so who are the people who are for whom we are working? So I strongly believe that the social workers, professional social workers who are rooted in the like rural or tribal areas like servicing, and even in urban areas who are working with urban poor, and like my previous speaker Amrita was talking, adolescents. So who are these people who are actually being left behind? So one role that social worker has is identifying who is being left behind and why. Suppose we are working in a village, still within the village, we talked about caste inequality. So we need to look at the groups who are being left behind and try and look at, like, we also know why they are being left behind, but how we can actually change the situation. Then very important part is monitoring and measuring progress. One of the issues is because these vulnerable groups, they don't have a voice. So often we don't hear anything from them, and then we feel that there is no problem. But it's not so. So what, as a social worker, our role is to give voice to these voiceless people. So government of India has also done an exercise to understand that who are these groups. So these are some of the lists they have come up with, like children, scheduled tribes, DNT tribes, youth, adolescents, people living with HIV, women, people with disabilities, farmers, LGBTQI groups, elderly people, migrants, scheduled caste. So these are the groups government has identified that these are the vulnerable groups which need more attention. So when we are talking about public health, I think it will be important to know what are the key public health issues that India is currently facing. And this is the progress of India on Sustainable Development Goal 3, which is related to good health. So overall, if we see, the situation looks good, like not that bad, because many parts are green, which means several of the states are front runners who have scored above 65. But there are no achiever states, but and few states are in yellow, which means they are still performer. They need to do better. If you look at the scoring pattern, overall India's score for SDG 3 is 74, and Gujarat has highest score 86, and among the union territories, Delhi is the highest. I can share my presentation, those who are interested in seeing these slides, or else you can also go and look at the SDG India Index by Niti Aayog. So what are the key areas where we need to work as India? What are the key public health challenges? The first and foremost is maternal mortality ratio. And as you can see in the bracket, there are figures. First number is where we want to reach. So we want to reach to a level where we have 70 or less than that deaths of women during pregnancy or delivery per 100,000 live births. Where are we today? Today we are at 113. Second target is about under 5 mortality, like death among children who are less than 5 years old. So we want to reach at 25. We are currently at 36. In terms of immunization, obviously we want 100% children to be immunized. This is one of the indicators where our performance is much better. So we have around 91%. Then tuberculosis is one of the major diseases where we need focused attention. We need to see, given the stigma with this disease, and especially the gender component plays here. If a young girl has TB, the family thinks that if we diagnose her with TB, she will not get married and all her future prospects of marriage will be ruined. So the families are not even willing to go and get it tested. So the case notification rate of TB is quite low. We need to improve it. HIV incidence, now fortunately, we have been able to bring it down. Suicide is another area, and I think adolescents also, the kind of stress they have, and we are hearing these cases of suicides very often in the newspapers. Farmer suicide is one such important area, which Professor Valvi had talked about. So today we have like 10.4 suicides per 100,000 population. We need to bring it down. Second, very important, also road traffic accidents. Again, I will say that among the youth, one of the ways of showing masculinity is like how fast you can drive your car or how fast you can drive your bike. And then there is alcoholism, then there are problems related to roads, and all this is leading to high number of road traffic accidents. Today it's like 11.56 per 100,000 population. We need to bring it down to half of it what today we have. Institutional deliveries again is one area where Government of India did some concerted efforts, and we are quite good in that. The expenditure that is happening on health is quite huge, and we all, like all of you may have heard, and when you go back to the villages, try to find out the families, how they have suffered during COVID to get the services during COVID. And in terms of total number of doctors, nurses, midwives, we are still behind. This is just to show you that where are different states. Uh, Now, when we talk about public health, I think like we are looking at the definitions of social work, it's also important to see what is the definition of public health. So it's the science of protecting the safety and improving the health of communities. So we are not talking about individual, not talking about one person who is suffering from TB coming to me as a doctor, like to seek consultation as a doctor, but we are talking about the problem at a community level and how we can address that problem through education, policy making. Research is very important, and I think in the previous speakers, I did not hear much emphasis on research, but I feel that as social workers, contributing to the research is also our responsibility, and we need to pick up the skill set for that also. So I generally say that there are 4 different ways a social worker can contribute to public health. One is community action. So all the work that we are doing at the community, giving them information about what are the services available for them, then empowering them to monitor those services. So different kind of community action is very, very important so that people are able to access their services or they are able to exercise their health rights. Second, I talked about research. Again, we need really good quality research, and not just about public health, but I will talk like education. After COVID, so many things have gone back, in the sense the early marriages have increased, the children, girls have dropped out of the schools. So we really need to understand what is happening at the village level. And I think as a social worker, we are best suited because we are there in the villages. Service provisioning, I will talk about Amrita, like counseling is very important service, the role that social workers are playing, and advocacy also, again, like Amrita had said, that after doing all these things, I think we need to take our learnings to the government and tell them what needs to be changed. So I was just looking at the history of how social work and public health came together. So I just got a paper which is tracing this history in the US, but I think it's very interesting to understand that it's been almost 100 years that public health and social work are working together as a as 2 different disciplines, but they are working in an interdisciplinary collaboration. So this is more than 100 years old. So it's not a new thing that we are talking. And yeah, so social workers' role is in secondary prevention as well as primary prevention of diseases. And I will just elaborate a little bit about. So when we talk about primary prevention, it's basically before a disease happens, what all we should avoid. Like if I want to avoid cancer, I need to stop using tobacco. So this is kind of primary prevention. Whereas secondary prevention is screening to identify diseases in the earlier stages. For example, again, I will give example of cervix cancer in India, which is a very high prevalence disease and which is one of the important causes of death among women, that cervical cancer. Now, this cancer, before the cancer is actually seen, 10 years almost before that, we can see the precancerous changes. So if we do a timely screening, we can avoid development of that cancer, and the treatment can be done in a very, very early stage when cancer is not actually there, but the cells are showing some changes. So this is also, not talking to women, telling them, convincing them to undergo this test and all is also very important role, and counseling them to undergo these tests. So this is a very important role a social worker can play. So what I would like to say is a social worker is a component of the public health workforce, one whose abilities to engage in community health work, prevention, advocacy, integration, and coalition building are vital to public health success. So if anybody thinks that a health program will be successful just because of doctors, I think that is not possible. Or any, now also I will just give you example of the immunization, COVID-19 vaccination. There are so many communities who are not willing to take the vaccine because there are so many misconceptions around that vaccine. So we really need a dedicated cadre of people who can go and explain people that why we need the vaccine, how vaccine will be helpful. And I think some of these roles can be played by social workers because they have a good rapport with the community. Now, just last 2-3 minutes I will spend on bringing gender lens to our work. So like all of us have seen that gender discrimination is very critical problem in India. And if you remember, the previous graph was mostly green and yellow, but this is the picture which is showing how India is doing in terms of gender equality. And it is very clear that most of the part is red and few is yellow. So nowhere we are near green or blue, which is the desirable. Again, Chhattisgarh is doing slightly better. So Chhattisgarh state, we understand to be underdeveloped, but in terms of gender equality, it is much better. And whereas in terms of the United Territory, it's Andaman and Nicobar, and Delhi, who was higher in health, is the lowest in gender equality. And those who are from Delhi can very well say that why Delhi is at the lowest this thing. I will not go into details of how are we performing, but just some of the just 1 or 2 minutes I will take. So we are performing quite like one of the major issues is sex ratio at birth. We all know that in India there is a practice that doing sonography, families find out whether it's a male or a female child, and then if it's a female child, like female fetus, they terminate the pregnancy. So which is impacting, which is one of the major reasons why the sex ratio at birth is impacted. Then women have very less salaries. Salaries, and rate of crime against women is also high. Domestic violence is one such area which is a public health issue, and where I think role of social worker is very important. And then women are not there in politics, women are not there in the labor force participation. So there are several issues. So I will just say that at the global level, where are we? Where is India? So there is this SDG Gender Index 2022, which was launched yesterday. So I thought maybe it's important to know that how is India progressing on gender equality, and when our work needs to, how much our work needs to intensify. So this is a SDG Gender Index, which is a global index, and this is their report. You can access this report on the Global Equal Measures 2030 website. And this report is telling that globally, only like 1 in 4 countries is making fast progress. So 75% countries are not working on gender equality in the space that is required. Some work is definitely happening, but since we have set a target of 2030, 75% of countries will not be able to achieve this target. So this is the graph which shows, see what this is like, this is the pace of the work towards gender equality, and with this pace only 71.5% is what we will be achieving, whereas what we want to achieve was 100%. So by 2030 we will not be able to achieve complete gender equality. In terms of India, there are some pluses, some minuses. The positive part is India is one of the fastest progressing countries. Its score has improved from 60.4 to 64.5. However, within Asia and Pacific, we are below the average. So there are goals like nutrition, sustainable cities, gender equality, where more work is required. Yeah. So just I will summarize that how social workers can contribute. So one is the inform, educate, and empower people about health issues, particularly give information to people who are like most vulnerable. Second, mobilize community partnerships to identify and solve health problems. Third, contribute to developing policies and plans that support individual and community health efforts. A very important part is laws and regulations. Like there are so many laws. I will just give one example, that we have an act which makes abortion legal. However, if you go to the villages, I'm sure that many women and many people think that abortion is illegal, whereas it is not. So it's our role to go and tell people what is the situation of laws and regulations. Link people to needed personal health services, ensure the provision of health care, evaluate effectiveness. I think in a previous slide it was mentioned that monitoring and evaluation is one of the important roles social worker can play. And again, I will stop by saying that good quality research is required to address public health problems, and I think social workers have a very good scope to be part of these research teams because it's an interdisciplinary work. So this is in brief I would like to say about what a social worker can do in public health. This is our website in case you need more information. Thank you. Thanks again. And thank you all those who are still here and listening because it's already quite late. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your presentation. And yes, you have very well explained the need of the hour and the theme what you given on this occasion, that no one should be left behind. Thank you very much. I think that so far there is no question. I would like to invite Nakusha, my colleague, to say the word of thanks. Please, Nakusha. Till then,
hello everyone. Good evening to all of you. Myself Nakusha Saindane. I am working as the social worker instructor at NIPHTR Mumbai. Today I am presenting the vote of thanks, the part of the program. Respected Director of NIPHTR, Dr. Sudhir Gite sir, respected dignitaries on the webinar, dear participant and the staff of NIPHTR. Good evening to all of you. Today on the occasion of World Social Work Day and Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the NIPHTR is organized and implemented the webinar on the professional social work building communities for the new nation. Yes, first of all, I congratulate to everyone for today's success of webinar. And as we know, the theme of World Social Work Day is co-building a new eco-social world, leaving no one behind. Yes, behalf of the NIPHTR, I take this opportunity to show our gratitude about today's webinar program. It is really privilege to me. I present of my vote of thanks to this program. Yes, person here, Ms. Shaya Ban Madam. Madam very well detailed in present and mention what is the role as a professional social work in industry in the perspective of organization as well employee, how the social work profession serving in industry for building the organization and welfare about the employee. Also, madam shared a lot of experiences with us. So I take this opportunity to present my sincere and heartfelt thanks to Ms. Shaila ma'am. Thank you so much for the beautiful and full sessions for today. Secondly, I present my gratitude to Dr. Sanjay Bhatt sir. The sir shared the lot of things related to social development of in India. So sir very well mentioned about the decade wise, like sir mentioned over here, how to social development and itself happened before the coming millennium and sustainable development goals. So I sincerely present my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Sanjay Bhatt sir for wonderful mention here, wonderful session about the today's theme. Next, I present my vote of thanks to Mr. Sachin Golwankar sir. Sir is very well mentioned the newer theme, which is related corporates. We know about the things very limitless, but the thing is that the fundraise, that the newer things, sir is very well explained over the session. So I really present my sincerely thanks to Mr. Sachin sir. Thank you so much, sir. Next, I present my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Durgesh Wal sir. Sir is very elaborately discussed the topic of rural development in all aspects, like caste system in rural, like their actual culture today. So I really sincerely present my heartfelt thanks to sir for the such an extensive and comprehensive presentation about rural development. Thank you so much, sir. Now I Madam very well in the last adolescent growth related and the nearest with me. I I take this second time opportunity to listen to her. It is really privilege to me. I heard Dr. Nilagi Madam again about her presentation like SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. Yes, during after the pandemic, I attended some workshop in Pune, which is related to SDGs. Ma'am, that time also I impressed your session as well. Today is also I very big fan of your session. So I really present my sincere thanks to Dr. Neelangi Sardeshpande Madam. Madam is very expressively and elaborately presenting her session. So I thanks to each and everyone. Last but not the least, the participant. Those are still remain to attend the session for today's webinar. So I thanks to everyone. Those are supported and those are participate during the webinars. Thanks to everyone. So as per the social work, as per the social work team, no one behind. Like this is the wonderful theme we had during this webinar. Thanks to everyone. Yes. Mazir.
Thank you. The link for certificate is posted in chat box. Kindly fill up the form. You will get the certificate directly. The link for certificate is shared in the chat box. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. about
yoga.